Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second online workshop of the Manthan Business Plan Competition organized by FKCCI. I'm Ramya Sheshadri, and I'll be your host for today. Before we dive into today's exciting sessions, I would like to extend a warm welcome to Mr. Ramesh Chandra Lahoti, President of FKCCI, Mr. Kirtan Kumar M, Chairman of Manthan-2024, Dr. C. I.S. Prasad, Advisor and Past President of FKCCI. I request President FKCCI, Mr. Ramesh Chandra Lahoti, to address the budding entrepreneurs and welcome them for the second online workshop of Manthan 2024. Over to you, sir.
Good morning to all. On behalf of FKCCI and the Manthan Committee, I welcome all who have joined for this virtual meet of the second knowledge workshop of the Manthan 2024. Mr. Vishwanath B.R., co-founder, Mr. Jagat Iyer, founder, CEO at Bitphone, Mr. Chinmay Ananda, financial educator, CA Prashant, director, and my colleagues, office bearers, and Mr. Kirtan Kumar, chairman, Manthan Committee 2024, Dr. C.A. I.S. Prasad, advisor, Manthan 2024, and also past president of FKCCI. The committee members of the Manthan 2024, dear students, good morning to everyone. On behalf of FKCCI, I welcome you for this second knowledge workshop for sharing the knowledge and mentoring the students to pitch the business plan before the July 2024 in a meaningful manner. I welcome also who are present virtually from various institutions across Karnataka. As you are aware, Manthan started in 2009. It is a flagship program of FKCCI, and FKCCI motto is very clear that we have to be job providers rather than job seekers. Finally, the best business plan gets the award by FKCCI. Startup is the current buzzword, and you are all know that Bangalore being the hub and number one in entire world, and state governments and central governments are helping the startups in various policies, subsidies. As you are aware, several education institutions have also started for the entrepreneurship and the innovation cells to grow the economy, and which will benefit the society. I can proudly say the program has been very successful and giving results, and many Manthan teams have successfully been given a lot of employments by business plans which they have taken forward, and they are all functioning well. For this year, we have received about 395 team representation consisting of 900 students from various institutions across Karnataka. We shortlisted them to 395 teams to 104 teams. I request you all to take advantage of this important knowledge workshop in devising your business plans and to present and pitch them before the jury to win the award. I would also like to announce that we scheduled the business plan presentation before the jury on the second week of July 2024, and that finale will be third week of July. And I'm hopeful, as FKCCI management is doing efforts to bring and to invite Vice President of India for the finale. Let's hope so that it will be a big finale which is going to happen on the Manthan front. I request the student community to make use of this knowledge workshop and enhance your knowledge and creativity. A lot of speakers are going to be addressing today, and I also make the presence of Madam Sheshadri, who is the co-host today, who will be in this program. And anything is there on FKCCI part, please contact our chairman, Mr. Kirtan Kumar, or Dr. C.I.S. Prasad, or Mr. Nagraj, who is taking care of this program. I wish all the students a fruitful presentation and they gain more knowledge to present their business plans. Thank you. Thank you. Wish you all good luck. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for the morning motivation and setting up the tone for today's online workshop. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I now request Chairman Manthan 2024, Mr. Kirtan Kumar, to give remarks on Manthan Business Plan Competition. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Respected President of FKCCI, Ramesh Lahoti, sir, our advisor, Dr. C.I.S. Prasad, and my dear committee members, core committee members of Manthan, our guest for the day, Mr. Vishwanath, and also my co-host today, Mr. Ramya Sheshadri, and all our participants. It's been a wonderful journey of Manthan, and happy to be chairman of 16th edition of Manthan, which is leading to be one of the best student participation so far. So we've had 395 teams who have registered with us, and second knowledge workshop, we have filtered the teams up to 1 out of 4. So we would like to firstly thank all the mentors of the institutions. We had a wonderful journey starting from institutions in Bangalore, then we went to Mysore, in Mangalore, there were roadshows in Tumkur, and all other places. There were overwhelming welcome when it because FKCCI has been known for promoting entrepreneurship, as the president said, and also there are wonderful organizations who are at FKCCI. So developing that entrepreneurial mindset has been a constant goal of Manthan, and the past participants also have been successfully been there as entrepreneurs today, and they're viably running their businesses. And all this motivation has been through FKCCI, the mentorship, the juries who have been constantly working with the teams. So all this experience are going to be for you for the next step. So first knowledge workshop, you have experienced a lot of good topics like evaluating your idea and product market fit, basic concepts in finances, brand social media marketing, teams and co-founders. One of our Manthan winners again came and spoke to you. So likewise, we had minimum viable product, building your business plan, costing and pricing, building revenue streams, VC expectations, and also another talk by Manthan winner. So likewise, we have again structured today's knowledge workshop. We have wonderful people with great profiles who are joining us today. And I urge all the students to keenly pay attention, because these are very, very important topics for you to groom your business plans. And going ahead, as you know, the second week of July, there will be jury mentorship. And finally, there will be finals in July third week. So we are on the progressive mode. So to request the students, though you have your academic schedules, kindly be proactive. Ensure that you are, once the jury is assigned, the mentors are assigned for you in the next upcoming, in the next few days. Kindly ensure you have daily communication with all the mentors. So today we have our topics, that is business analytics, the key factors to startup for startup success, tips for preparing a business plan and how to pitch in 2 minutes, and financial planning for entrepreneurs. So, dear students, pay keen attention. So, going ahead, we have almost more than 60 mentors with they are founders and co-founders of successful companies who will be mentoring all of you all. So ensure that you have a constant communication and they can be your lifelong mentors for your going ahead. So with that note, I would thank all the institutions for always encouraging your students. We also thank all the incubation heads of various institutions. So in the previous workshop, we had our head of JSS STEP, and also likewise many other people are going to join today. So experience the whole today's knowledge workshop is also going to be filled with a lot of new perspectives, new dimensions, new possibilities. So inculcate all this in your business plans again and get better at your thing. And if you have a product, concentrate on the product. We see wonderful teams who have great ideas. So we would like to support all of this. So with that note, I would like to thank our President for constantly supporting, and we've already had 2 times visit to the Vice President's office, and also there is support from the state governments, and also a lot of organizations who want to come and support. A lot of VCs are also the next networking sessions with the VCs are also going to be arranged. So there is great opportunity for all the students, and also as you all know, the prize money is 10 lakhs. And this is also going to be a greater opportunity. So this program also can prepare you for Elevate Karnataka, and all this opportunity is tremendous. It's up to you, students, how much you can make out of it. So on that note, I would like to thank FKCCI, the President, Ramesh Lahoti sir, and again our advisor, CA Ayesh Prasad sir, and my dear co-team members, Mr. Abhishek, Tejasri, Shubha, Ganesh, Shravan Gudatur, and Karthik Kittu, and Mr. Pranam. So thank all of you all for being part, and hope we have a greater journey ahead and create a wonderful entrepreneurial journey. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the motivation and the support that you've extended, and by sharing the important information to all the budding entrepreneurs. I thank all the students from different colleges for joining us today. I hope everyone had a fruitful online workshop, first online workshop. Today's workshop promises to be as valuable, focusing on some critical areas for startup success. In this journey, we are honored to have with us eminent speakers from the industry and successful startup founders who will be sharing their knowledge and experience. Their insights will undoubtedly help you implement and build a stronger startup. With further ado, let's get started with our first session on the usage of business analytics. Let me introduce our speaker for today, Mr. Vishwanath B.R. Vishwanath B.R., an accountant by education and technocrat and innovation driver by profession, is part of many startups in the field of healthcare, fintech, and agri-tech solutions. As a solution architect, he has been pivotal in giving solutions to space of value-added services and data analysis to big telecom giants, and also a key solution designer for NPCI, PMJDY financial inclusion programs. He is a part of several social enterprise and non-profit organizations and has been instrumental in designing scalable and impacting creating programs. He is an ardent tech innovator and has several patents, including in the field of medical imaging and vehicle safety. I welcome Mr. Vishwanath B.R., who's taken time in his busy schedule to address you all for the business analytics topic. Over to you, sir.
Thank you for an elaborate introduction of me. Probably sometimes I myself get confused hearing those things. Let us wait for the sharing of the screen so that we can start the presentation. Dear students, before we go, I would request you, because you are on a journey towards your career as an entrepreneur, you need to put in a lot of efforts in the beginning so that you have very strong grounding. And business analytics is a topic where you assess not only your business, but your business environment and how does it take shape so that your business grows along with the environment and such kind of things. So this is quite an important topic. So I'm going to prime you by telling you that you need to give a lot of attention to this. And I hope that I would make some sense to you in terms of this. To begin with, I would start with my gratitude to FKCCI, especially the current president, Mr. Ramesh Chandra, who has given me this opportunity. And just for records, this is my 10th year of association with FKCCI. I've been a member of jury, member of mentor, speaker, all those kind of things. So I have enjoyed every role that I have played in this kind of Manthan program. Second thing is that I have to place my record of thanks to Mr. Kirtan Kumar, who is the chairman, who just spoke before me. And also Dr. C.I.S. Prasad, who's been kind of a electrifying personality to what we call motivate everybody in the Manthan team to bring about good things from them. And I'll be falling short of my duty if I don't thank the members of Manthan and my fellow jury members and other mentors. Okay, so let us move to the next topic. See, my approach to this topic is more to break it down into steps rather than giving you a theory or how things is going to be there in a textbook format. My years of experience in entrepreneurial journey and also experience in an era where there was no internet versus now, and my experience in building value to the companies which are involved in, I have broken down into steps so that it will be easy for you to keep this presentation in front of you and follow the steps so that at least it will help you in 60-70% of your future plans. See, what you can do is, after this program, request FKCCI to share the presentation with you, then take each step, dig deeper into the internet, then you get more insights on each topic. Because of paucity of time, and also I didn't want to bore you with a lot of noise plus data, so I just wanted to just give you the steps. That would be my approach to the topic. Okay, first let us understand what is business analysis all about. If you go by the textbook definition, it says it's a process. So what do you mean by a process? That's why I have broken it down to the word process separately. Because process means you need to follow it one step after the other. It is not that you have to do it randomly. So hence it's a process. That means it has got a definite step. So the step means it has to identify business needs, not in general, but your plan business needs and requirements. Sorry, once you have the needs and requirements, then you need to design a solution around those needs and requirements. What it means, we'll see later on. But activity is not random. You should always keep the goal that your solution to your business is the most cost-effective way. Because if you are not making money, your business is not going to stand any longer. So ensure that you always have money, making money as a process. Yes, it is good to have a name, fame, all those kind of things. But ultimately, the bottom line is you have to be cost effective so that there is some cash residue in you. After understanding what is the business analysis in some brief way, so let us go to the next step of the type of business analysis. Because if you read through a net or something like that, you will find business analysis means two major blocks, two major chunks. One is the technical aspect of business. That is, how do I make my product? What kind of material do I use? Or who brings in my services to the thing? All those kind of things is the technical side of it. The second thing is the technical aspect is done by engineers, technologists, or what we call subject matter specialists. You have an idea, but to actually bring it out to the market, you need to take help of these people because one person or one small team cannot be a master of all. I have faced this scenario quite a lot of times in my business journey. So I request you all, don't feel shy. When you have a mentor, don't stop it at one, have as many as possible. But instead of calling them a mentor, you get them into good well-wishers. Have a discussion of every aspect of technicalities of your business. That's one part of it. The second aspect is the functional aspect of business. That is, how do I have my resources? When do I have it? Because having idle resources is also going to be costly. Then how do I get myself market oriented? That means all this time you are product oriented. Suddenly you have to put your energy into how do I sell this, or how do I make this available to the people who are willing to pay for it. Then there's something called as developing a business canvas that you'll see it shortly. So again, this process or this aspect of business analysis is generally done by people who are experts in business, finance, legal aspects and all those kind of things. So again, when you meet some people, have somebody in your team meeting them, or you meet them, all of you meet them, to get an insight into this. This is key aspect of it. If these are all the fundamental steps, if you take it properly, then there is no doubt, because of the growing stage of the Indian economy, you're going to do well. So these are all fundamental steps. So understand this very well. So let us move to the next part of this. Okay, I understand what is business analysis, but sorry, I think I went back to the things. So where do I start? How do I start? The first step in doing any business analysis is analyzing the idea itself. Idea of the business. See, a lot of people develop product ideas, solution ideas, all those kind of things. But first convert that into business, where somebody is willing to cut the check for your idea. That is the most thing what translates from a product idea to a business idea. So this idea can be a business idea or a product idea. So there are two types of ideas that people start business with. Business idea means I already have a knowledge of what and where I can sell. That means market is ready for something, but it needs it, I am fulfilling it. So your job is to focus more on how do you fulfill the gap. That is where you have a business idea. Product idea means I am good technically, I know certain subject matter things, so I have come up with a product. Next now is how do I find the market for it. So you have to understand where you are, whether you have a business idea or you have a product idea. So example for a product idea is I have a low cost refrigerator or a piece of software with AI support in medical field, etc., etc. is a product idea. The question is, how do you take it to the market? To whom I am going to sell? At what price I am going to sell? All those things comes under the analysis of this. So actually, all your activities are going to be revolving around this, because what is the pivot of your business? Is it the market or is it your product? So once you understand this, you know how to balance the rest of the activities. So next step on this. See, everybody gets ideas, lots of ideas. This is most important aspect in the beginning phase of your planning. Find the alternates to your idea. See, when I say alternate to your idea means, say I have got something to be, say for example, I have a market. Market needs electric scooters. Okay, that is there. The question now over here is that what is the alternate to it? The question again I'm trying to say is find alternates to your ideas, so that you know you have the best idea and you have the reason why you have dropped out the other ideas, so that you believe in your idea. To get belief in your idea, you need to analyze all the alternates. That motivates you, that motivates your team, that motivates other people. If you don't do this exercise, during the course of your moving towards a product or business, you'll find a lot of alternates and you would have spent half the money you have, or you would have spent half the energy, then you lose your motivation, a lot of things happens. So as in this step, please understand that you need to find the alternates. When I'm saying alternate your idea, you should not get confused with the variants of the idea. Because I have found a lot of people say that I'll start electric scooter business. If I fail in that, I will take this battery and do the inverter business. If I fail in that, I'll take the battery and do something else. That is, you have an idea and then find different uses of that idea. I'm not talking of that. I am finding out one way of doing things of your idea and how many alternates are there. If you look at the bottommost part of the screen, if this step is done correctly, clarity of offering, what I am giving to my customer, you will get it. And no resource will be spent unnecessarily in the midway of development. I have burned half the money I have earned without doing this in my life. It is my personal experience that I'm emphasizing this because we buy a lot of alternate things, lot of circuits, lot of things, and then figure out that because we didn't have clarity what we are offering, we may have 25 alternates, we don't know exactly what to do, and by then we are already burnt half our money. So we get less money to do more, and our business will take more time or less efficient, so it will have a lot of negative outcomes. So it is better to have clarity of offering in the beginning itself. That is the second step. Okay, after having clarity, then where do I start? The next thing. Yes, I have an idea, I have some things, but I should know now where do I stand now, how much more place to go. See, if you go to say Goa or any place, you know that where is your starting point. To know this, you need to do screening or a discovery process. See, the outcome of this process is it tells you how much more distance to cover or how many more miles to go, whichever way the cliche goes. What do you mean by discovery? First, I should discover. I'm not saying compute, arrive at your market size. No, that is very difficult to do. Don't start at that point. Just have a general idea. Discover that. What is your market size? Any information you get, unless and until you really churn it in a specific way, your discovery is not complete. See, for example, if you say Vasco da Gama or Columbus had an idea to go about how to reach India, but they went through the whole process, they put their energy into that. Similarly, know what is the market size, not what size you capture, but what it is in general, so that you know you have how much cushion you have. Then what is the price you can offer, the price of your offering? You need to discover that. That itself is a very difficult exercise. Too low a price, you will suffer. Too high a price, the customer is not willing to buy. Either way, it's a double whammy. So then finally, what is it cost me to bring this product to the market? Development cost and time. Don't confuse it cost of the product. This is what we in our business terms call capex. How much money I need to spend to make this product ready to go to the market. It could be a factory setup, it could be your so many other infrastructure setup and so many kind of things. But it is quite essential to discover it. Again, don't say I'm going to spend $1 million or 100,000 rupees or something like that. Don't arrive at the cost. First discover it. That means what all goes into it, what would be the cost, what is the alternate, all those kind of things you need to discover. That's why it's called screening. Then what is the cost of your product? Again, it is not cost of development. If this is my product, how much money I need to spend to make this product? This is again a discovery. And the last one is very important. How do we get the resources needed? So it will tell you what are the resources, manpower resources, your support systems, all those kind of things. The entire resource matrix has to be arrived at in the step 3 part of it. I know this is slightly overwhelming, but I think as I told you, you read this after you download, and then probably when you go through it, you understand better. Okay, you can make out the next step because I've used a very large font on the whole screen because of its very importance. Most of the people will go by gut feeling. Oh, I do this, I do that, it's going to happen, all those kind of things. That is good for a very small business. But for a large business, you need to have a canvas. Even for a medium-sized business, you need to do a business model canvas. Check on the net, you will find thousands of templates, all those kind of things. But most necessarily, you have to spend at least 1/3 of your initial time on building this. Because once you have your business model canvas, Next decisions are entirely, mostly based upon this canvas that you have developed. It helps you to hold on to the horses, take direction which you are going. You won't be feeling astray by a lot of other suggestions and noises coming out from the market because you know exactly what you are doing. So I have broken down this step 4 into multiple pieces because it's a very large activity. So let's go to see the next. From 4.1 to 4.3, it is customer orientation. First, write down, important, write down your big customer segment or easy to grab customer segment. Don't do both. Once you know which customer segment you are addressing, yes, you may be having ideas to develop different products for different customer segments, all those kind of things. In the beginning, focus on one customer segment. So we write down that. The next stage is for that customer segment, what is the value you are proposing? When I say value, oh, I'm going to sell them a very cheap product, high quality product. No. What the change does it bring into their business or their life? That is called as a value. So understand what value, because it's called as a value proposition. You create a good value proposition means price may not be an issue for them. So the way you communicate a good value associates the price. But people have recently seen a lot of fog advertisement in the TV. So it is talking about value proposition, right? So it says you don't have to be bothered about price, but as long as you know what value you are getting. A similar exercise that you need to know exactly what value you are going to give it to the customer. Third thing is do your homework. When I say homework, exactly emphasize that it's a lot of activity. Yes, I have a customer segment, but how do I reach them? Is it a digital channel or is it a customer distribution channel like I'm a wholesaler, retailer? What is the mechanism of reaching them? When I say reaching them is not advertisement, not teaching about your information about your product, but how does your product goes into the hands of your customer? So those things that you have to specifically write down and do homework. What if I take this channel? What are my costs? What are the benefits? How things going to happen? What if I take the other channel? Like that, you need to go step by step. That is why it's called a business analysis. Every activity, write down, analyze, and tick. Okay, this is the reason which I'm going to go for this. The outcome of this 4.1 to 4.3 steps is you align your activities. That means this is my customer. I'm going to reach them like this. This is the value proposition. So I do all my activities to do this. This makes your business efficient and scalable. Because you know if you add more customers, how to go to them, or if you have a new customer segment, how to go about it. So to scalability and efficiency, these steps are very much essential. So next is step 4.4 to 4.5 of the business model case. This is very important because I'll explain to you one step by step. Identify how you need to maintain the relationship with those customers. When I say customer relationship, it is not call center or a website or something which is going to do that. It is how do you get feedback, how do you reach them, all those kind of things. I'm telling you, if you read the next bullet, this is the point of failure, or there's no recovery from this point if you fail here. So always think how I am going to meet my customers' demand and how do we in touch with them. Most important aspect of that. If you see in a lot of Amazon or any other internet markets, 5 bad comments or reviews will bring down the product. So you have to be very careful on this. Okay, when I say relationship, I'll just give an example, which will connect you to the next point. You make a product, the customer, supposing it is a household consumer goods, or it is a durable, customer durables, you will find most of the companies offering EMIs. That means the customer is getting a benefit not just of your product, but paying for that product in multiple things. So either you offer EMI on your own, or you bring in a bank or other financial institutions, all those kind of things. This is one of the mechanisms of maintaining the customer relationship. The next point is having for example, in medical representatives, they go to the people who sell it and then on to the doctors and then bring both of them together. So these are the activities that you may have to think about it. The next aspect of it is break down how you get your money. When I say revenue, is it one source or is it multiple source of how your revenue is going to come? When I say get your money, it is not your profits, top line, because most important aspect of business is cash flow planning. Maybe in the previous session or maybe in the next few sessions, you'll understand more about cash flows from more experts. But this is most important aspect of it is how your cash is coming and going out. Every time you need money, if you are rushing to the bank, that means you have done something wrong in your business planning. So you need to understand how your money is going to come. That means, are you going to give credit to your distributor, or are you going to charge them upfront? Are you going to charge extra for your dealership? All those kind of planning you need to break down in steps and then figure out how things are going to happen. This is a very important aspect of business analysis. The next aspect of it is, yes, I know how to reach customer, what price, all those kind of things, but to fulfill that, I need resources, right? I need people, I need to do manufacturing, or I need to outsource it manufacturing, I need suppliers, I need the channel to maintain your product, whether I'm going to maintain my own product maintenance or I'm going to outsource it. All those resources are required. First, you need to list and identify its cost. Because nothing should come to you as a surprise. Oh, I did not factor this, and that's why my profitability has come down. So these are the aspects that you need to do that. This is a very important step as you see down. This will help you more. Then what are your costs? And once you know the cost, there are two costs in business. Cost of setting up of development of product. What we call the CapEx, and the cost of the product itself is OpEx. So you should bifurcate it into CapEx and OpEx because you know where you are paying and what is the interest for that. I'm going to rush through that because these points will be covered to you by more experts down the line. The next is step 5, most important, and more often than not, everybody will miss this. Assessment of risk and point of failure. See, I use the word risk and point of failure. See, you always have risk in driving, say for example, driving highway. But there's a point of failure, that is, you can have accidents more at junctions or at night. So you should know where the risk is exaggerated, where it will be more. So the outcome of this exercise is to know where to avoid, how to bring your more senses into places where you run into risk. List whereon you can't fail. It can even be the simplest, most stupidest point, but you make a list and then say why. After that, you have to prepare a plan called fail the failure first. You should make the failure itself to fail, so it doesn't occur at all. That's the most important aspect of it. Don't have a plan, what do I do after failure? Have a plan to avoid the failure itself. And what resources are required for that? See, the most costliest aspect of it is after the failure occurs for recovery. If you watch cricket match, you will know that the aspect that as soon as the rain starts, they will cover the entire stadium now. So once the rain stops, it is ready for game. But otherwise, supposing you are covering only a small portion of it, and then when the rain comes, the cost of removing the water from the stadium is pretty high than covering it up. So this is what I mean by fail the failure first. So this is another important aspect that you need to do. Step number 6. Okay, I'll take a little bit more time on this. Gap assessment and actions. What do you mean by gap assessment? See, everybody is very ambitious. Everybody wants to do all the roles, but are they responsible for that role? That means my team is XYZ. What are their current skills? Yes, they are good students. They are doing very well in designing your product, etc., up to the level of POC. But can they make it a product which can pass through several stringent environmental test, a lot of regulatory tests or something like that is a required skill. Do they have it? So your 4.6 would have given you what is all the requirement of resources. From there, you bring in now, you will know what is your current team. The reason for that is there are two things. Either you augment your team or enhance the skill of your team. So this is a very important aspect. If you stay stable, that is status quo, and then expect the business to grow, it's not going to happen. All of you have to be on your toes, all the team members, to keep on improving the skills. So for that, this gap is first most important aspect of it. The second thing is the moment the POC, that is proof of concept, is ready, don't think that your product is ready for market. 80% of the people make this mistake. So you should know my POC to marketing stage, manufacturing stage, manufacturable to marketing stage. What are all the gaps? That means, how do I do an ID, industrial design? How do I package it? How do I bring the ergonomics to it? And all those kind of things. And then how do I pack in such a way that there are no breakages or loss in the transit? And how do I make it attractive? And what kind of packaging will send a message of quality of the product? So there's a lot of gap in your planning. I'm sure because as a beginner, you would have not thought about it in so much detail, but please go through this. Go through the internet, figure out what are all the gaps and what kind of things, and then write down, at least be identified them. When I say this, it doesn't mean that you are going to cover all, but at least you have covered 70 or 80%, which makes your life easier. Third gap is the chasm. It is not just a gap. Finance state. That means I will have 100 rupees in my hand and I have a need for 10,000 rupees. So don't start a business with 100 rupees in hand when there's a need for 10,000 without a plan to raise that balance 9,900 rupees. Oh, sir, on the way, I will please somebody, some friend will give, some relative will give, or I will go to the bank. I have got this Government of India startup funding. No, what do you call? There are so many such open-ended things, but please ensure that you have ticked all the requirements of those things to raise the finance and then spend your 100 rupees. Otherwise, you're going to lose 100 rupees what you have in hand. So these gaps, first of all, you identify. Then once you identify, then amongst your team members or your augmented team or your next support team or whatever it is, fix the responsibility. Okay, you are going to play this role. See, in cricket match, people say that each person knew what role that they were supposed to play. That's why we won the match, right? Same thing. If you play your role, don't extend your thing. Yes, it is good to share your responsibility or etc., or maybe you need to do multiple roles, is fine. But know very clearly what is your role. So unless and until all these steps is there, you have to keep on doing this activity till there is a clarity on this. This step, once you complete it, in the beginning you saw how far that you have to go. Here it says how much to go. In the sense, yes, I have to go to Goa. I have a tank full. I think, yes, I will go up to 3/4 area from Bangalore. That means, one, I know it is 500 odd kilometers, but here I know how much of petrol or diesel is there in my vehicle. Knowing just the distance is not sufficient. It is how much of the fuel I have in my system or how much money I have in your pocket to travel, all those kind of things is also important to reach this place. So I request you to do this step in great sincerity. So once we cover the gaps, there are many gaps in the system, but I've just identified 3 or 4 of it. But if you go to the net, you'll figure out what are the things. Most important aspect of it is measuring the progress. All your team members are your close friends. Hence, you will not speak for or against each other. But that's not the case. In business, you have to be very, very, very professional. So we have got an activity chart. Put that into your calendar. Fix the roles and responsibility. By this person should deliver this. By this time, this should have happened. By this time, we'll do this much of work to do this. With this much amount of money being spent. So take your time, fill the calendar. It is a step which is very essential because it will help you to measure the progress. Lot of people will exhaust all their fuel, emotions, and all those kind of things, passion for the product halfway through because they have not done this. They think I will do this product in half a year, then I will start. No, this I have seen even with IIT grads who are supposed to be brilliant, all these kind of things. They get a product idea, they go and do a product POC. Even after 1 year, they have not made a sale. Then they'll call me up and say, hey, look here, this is what's happening. Can you help me out? Can you do this, etc. The reason for this is they have not filled their calendar. They've just gone about everything in a very random way. Don't do this mistake. Try to be professional on this aspect. What to be verified on that day also you need to be checked. Don't just have a status meeting. Okay, we all sit and everybody says what is the status. No. In the status meeting aspect, you should know what has to be verified. So what has to be verified, what has to be monitored is milestone has to be fixed for product development. Okay, by this date, I have this functionality ready. This fundraising aspect of it will come through this point. Resource augmentation. I would have added 5 more people to my team by 6 months down the line. And I have got my customer base. So I've already spoken to so much of my future customers. They are agreed if my product is ready. So all these kind of activities you need to fill in your calendar and then strictly follow those timelines. Then only you'll be able to control cost. You'll appreciate all of this when I summarize the whole thing. The last part of it, the most important aspect is the business plan continuity. See, a lot of people are investing with you. You may put your money and time. Your supplier is putting his time on you. He may be having a belief in you and say, okay, I'll give you a 10% discount or a 15% discount is an investment in you. So everybody wants you to grow. Everybody wants you to start your business. So they have their expectations. Okay, if I grow with him or if I help him grow, he will give me so much of business. Or a customer says, if I buy from a new customer, new supplier, he will help me in bringing down my cost. He'll help me in doing this better. He may have better timelines of delivery. Including bankers, employees will look at you for your business continuity. How long and how well you do business. So you should have a rough. I use the word rough. Don't get into spend time in too much of detail. That is, in my year 3, I have this product. No, I am having my future goes like this. This is my business continuity. So something like that is very, very, very important. Only when business continuity is shown, all these other stakeholders will help you to perform better. If you show that if you are experimenting in business, their motivation to help you is less. So show the business continuity. So when you approach your mentors appointed by FKCCI also, you show your sincerity that this business plan is going to come up as business. It doesn't stop at the this kind of a competition level or a business plan presentation or something like that. Then what happens is the interest given by the mentor goes beyond your business plan preparation. It will make you a better person in business. So these are the what I call solid 8 steps. If you repeat and then repeatedly do this over and over again, I'm sure that 80, unless and what we call force majeure, unforeseen circumstances, most of the businesses will be some form or the other successful. So the advantage of doing all the steps is that I have taken, if one documents the above steps well, what it will help? One is preparing the investment proposal for fundraising. So if you are going to go to a VC or an angel funder or something like that, you are able to show up your sincerity towards the business. What all he looks for in business, I have already put that in the steps. So if you have that documented, either an angel investor or a VC or a banker would be very happy to know that you have done your homework. So it will help you to prepare the investment proposal. Second thing is, when you meet some senior people to be your CEOs or marketing people, when you show this, they will be very happy to move into your system. They will be happy to come and work for you at a lesser cost because they know that their growth is faster. So this is another important aspect of why you need to do this kind of a business analysis. The last thing is convincing all the stakeholders, including your parents. If you have done so much of work and then go and show to them that, okay, this is all my things, more often than not, parents may not give you permission because they say, oh, you are an engineer, your starting salary could be 7 lakhs per annum. Why are you going to do such hard work? Or who is going to raise funds? What happens? What is the risk that if you fail in business? And all those kind of things. So they are an indirect stakeholder to your business. So if you show this kind of an activity that you have done, it will always help you in convincing them as well. So there are several advantages of taking these steps. As you noticed, I have broken down all the analysis without the details of why and how it is done. What all to be done I have given, how it is to be done and where to get data. I think probably you can do some work on the net and then fill up the whole kind of things. How do you approach this? Yes, I have got what is to be done, but what should be my mindset? First is it has to be with great rigor. Don't do it at a superficial level. You have to do it with great rigor and sincerity towards this. Second thing is do it iteratively. Because when you are doing step 6, you might have get an idea for your step 2. So do it iteratively. Document all the steps. Don't write down the outcomes. What is important is why the outcome. Why you have decided like that's also most important. Because it will help you in a lot of decision making in the future. Because if you keep on visiting this whole documentation, it will help you to make decisions. I'll give you a best example. When you are doing your product, you will get a news. Some other person has done something bigger. So 50% of your other stakeholders will come and say, sir, this work agala sir, or if you have done your homework well, you'll be more convinced that why you will be successful. If you have not done, more people telling you about negative things, then your motivation will come down. So take great rigor and sincerity to implement. Don't let the milestones slip. When you're approaching business, setting up milestones and taking the milestones seriously is most important aspect of it. Don't rush through and keep a very steep milestones. That is, I can do what can be done in 6 months, in 3 months, or I'll do what can be done in 100,000 rupees and half of it. Don't set up things like that. Keep realistic milestones and don't let that slip. Once you're doing that, then obviously I'm more than 100% sure that your business is going to have or move in your topmost gear. So I think, probably completed my brief discourse on business analysis. If you have any questions, I think probably we can type and I will try to figure out if I can answer them. We have how much time? Another 10 minutes.
Another 10 minutes.
For Q&A.
Yes. I thank our speaker, Mr. Vishwanath. Yeah, for having the presentation very crisp and giving a practical approach by giving 8 important steps of business analysis. I'm sure the budding entrepreneurs have a lot of takeaway. We have 10 minutes for question and answers. I request the team to type in the questions and I will have a speaker give you the solution. Yeah, you can ask the questions as well. Unmute your mic and please ask.
Raise their hands. You raise their hands.
You can raise your hands if your video is switched on. We can also identify that way.
You get a chat window.
Yeah, we have the chat. You can just
Sir, I have built a MVP and it's growing without marketing. I want to expand what next steps?
Exactly. How do you define MVP without defining your market? That's my fundamental question. You have decided as MVP. No, it is a market which should have decided what is the MVP. Most viable product without the market conjunction is like landing on the moon and expecting somebody to grow rice and give it to you. So you should have known, okay, Nothing wrong in you already done that. No, what you do is you need to take the product or maybe whatever you've done and meet more and more your prospect customers and have a discussion with them. Don't talk about price, but figure out what is the utility for them. So once you know what is the utility, then I think probably a price can be a next discussion. So I would recommend not to have a price discussion at this point of time. Figure out how they can use this product in their business or in their livelihood or whatever it is. That's the way I think probably you can go to the next step. So you can have an open discussion with prospects, as can call it.
Canvas model for it.
How to make
Okay. See, there are several, you have a high, Harvard Business School Canvas model, and there are so many templates on the net. You look at 5 or 6, choose where you are comfortable. I didn't want to recommend you because it is depend on the nature of business, whether it's a service, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's distribution, or where the key gearing is. So choose where there are standard templates available, plenty is available. So you can have just choose templates for business canvas. So you can go through that and see, at times you may have to spend a little bit of time available on this. Yes, it could be iterative. You may have to change models quite often, but once you fix on that, you stay with that. There's no problem with a specific definition of any model or something like that, but where you are comfortable is what is there. Because when I say template, it is almost like all the questions are already there. You have to plug in what you feel. So that's an ideal template to start with.
Okay, after completing our business model, canvas. Alter. After completing our business. Okay, fine.
There is nothing like anything setting in concrete. Once you do your business model, it is not set in concrete. It is a very dynamic animal. It keeps on changing, but don't change the nature. If you have a dog, keep it as a dog. Don't change the nature of business itself, but rest of it keeps changing. Don't bother about it. See, till you put in a lot of money, at least 10% of the money of whatever goes into business planning is going to be wasted. But it's worthwhile doing those 10% spending rather than going up to 90% and wasting the 90 rupees, 90% of the money.
SaaS.
Okay, this is an IT enabled or IT. This is what the question. So if you are saying software as a service, you have to be on the cloud now. You can't be on things. Second thing is there is something called as continuous development and continuous implementation. So those aspects you have to be really good at if you are doing those kind of things. But I tell you, you have to be very careful because your break even is going to come at a long point of time. You should have a lot of stamina in business to be in SaaS model. So you should look at it how things are going to work on that. You need to have some kind of an angel or some investor who's going to invest in an idea. And you should have a large amount of capacity and agility to keep the model improving.
For setting up price for service, should we need to include setting up cost and development cost or only product cost? If not, how?
See, don't rush into do the survey of a product at a price point. That is after you finish, it is at the time of where you fix the price. First do a survey whether there is a market for that or not. And ask the customer itself at what price point they are going to get what services. Don't fix the price and say, okay, if I sell milk at 10 rupees, will you buy? Then obviously 100% people will say yes. So because you don't know whether you can sell at 10 rupees or at 50 rupees, in the beginning stage of your surveys, don't get into price at all. It's very difficult unless and until you already know its price. You already discovered what price you can deliver at. So that's the most important aspect of it. The previous question where I got a little confused because they say SaaS and they also say called a product. You need to do a little bit more work because software is a service and then as a product doesn't go well. Once you say service, it is a different platform, product is a different platform. There's, I think, probably a confusion in words. Maybe I understand you have an idea, but maybe your verbiage is slightly off.
Yeah, any advice for startups when there are huge giants as competitions and we have government USP or product is food related?
See, the advantage of developing where the competition is huge is you can be acquired if you do well. You can get a very good valuation because your efficiency can be the arbitrage into the larger company. Don't look at making business money from the sales of the product, but look at you making money by getting into an M&A with bigger companies. So it is always better to have, that's why I said, where does your money come from? Not your profits. You're making lower profits. But if those ideas, if you look at all those bigger companies like Myntra being purchased or something like that, is always bigger companies grow inorganically by acquiring smaller companies. So there's a lot of scope for you to be if you perform well. So three things are important there. Key aspect of your business, key value proposition, all those kind of things, you keep it very tight. And even if a smaller company, they get a very large M&A value. Because those aspects that you have built may be useful for a larger company.
Last one would be what is key thing that maximize the price of the product, or is the quantity or uses of the product?
No, price has got is an independent function of your quality or things. Price comes from what it replaces with. Okay. See, for example, use once products will have a different price point. So if you look at the margins of consumer durables, it will be 30% plus. And if you look at FMCG, fast moving goods, it will have a price margin, it will be having a margin of 3 to 5%. So it is not, sometimes you have to go with cost plus margin as a price. Sometimes you have to go what it replaces with. It's a very big science in itself. That's why I said it's a discovery. So you put both the models side by side and see what will happen. So you have to discover that. See, if there's a competition, it always helps you. Don't look at that. I will always price it lesser than competition. That's a very bad strategy. Sometimes it works better if you price it higher than your strategy in competition also. See, look at what is your customer segment. Without looking at customer segment, thinking about price is a very bad step. First, identify the customer segment. See, somebody's customer segment is going to pay 300 rupees for a movie. Okay. And for them, if you say, I'll bring them to a big Inox or this or something like that, would be a bad thing to happen. So the question is, price is not the ability to pay, is the ability to retain the value of the customer is what is called the price.
Fine, sir. I think, yeah. In one last question, could you provide some points on how to identify and develop an effective marketing strategy for agriculture related product? On marketing, we have a session going ahead.
See, what has happened is in agricultural field also there are two strategies working. It is like in your e-commerce, last man standing will get lot of money. So you have to sustain till last man standing. It's not the question of pricing. It is how long can you stand in that market, because agri market is a very volatile market and there is no barrier. A lot of people come in and then go out. So in terms of that, you have to stay long and then look forward for all your activities for merger acquisitions, M&As. That's one of the ways. I mean, I don't know what's your product, but basically in the long run, I think that's what is going to happen. Like e-commerce business, agri business also will be a lot for M&As and growth.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir. I'm sure you have a lot of questions. Please write to FKCCI Manthan mail ID. Our team will definitely assist and provide solutions. I thank our first speaker, Mr. Vishwanath, for his valuable insights.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
As we continue our second online workshop of Manthan Business Plan Competition, I'm thrilled to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Jagat Iyer, founder and CEO of With Phone. Mr. Jagat Iyer is a dynamic entrepreneur and a leading figure in the tech industry. He founded Witphone, an innovative video communication platform with the vision of transforming how business and individuals connect in today's digital era. Under his leadership, Witphone has quickly become a recognized and trusted name, known for its cutting-edge technology and exceptional user experience. With a rich background in technology and entrepreneurship, Mr. Iyer has successfully navigated the challenges of starting and scaling a business. His deep understanding of the startup ecosystem, combined with his strategic acumen, has enabled Witphone to achieve significant milestones in growth. Mr. Iyer's expertise extends across various critical areas, including product development, market strategy, and business analytics. His experience and insights are valuable for any startup looking to succeed in a competitive landscape. Today, Mr. Iyer will share his knowledge on the key factors for startup success, drawing from his own journey and lessons he has learned along the way. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Jagat Iyer. Over to you, sir.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot for that very kind introduction. Wonderful to see Kirtan sir as well. Very good morning to you. Been following your work, a lot of wonderful initiatives that you're doing. So really congrats on all that. Big hello to all the students. Again, I'm very, very excited. It's one of the happiest times of the year, I must say, when Manthan happens to me, because there's nothing quite like talking to student founders. I think it's the most liberating experience for me, because I myself started when I was a student. So I'm so happy to hear all your ideas. And this is not a one way. I wanted to be initially a presentation, guys, guys and girls. I'm not some teacher here, just an entrepreneur, just like you, like all of us. So we all learn from each other. Maybe I have a little more years under my belt, so may share a few notes from my learnings, right? But let's say there are no right and wrongs here, right? We're just exchanging some notes. So what I'll do is I'll jump straight into a kind of mind map. I don't want to do a PPT, if that's okay. I just want to share my screen. Okay. Is my screen visible? Hi, is my screen visible? Okay.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Okay. So I want to keep this a little bit, fluid, a little bit interesting. I'm just going to talk about 4 parts, right? So let me first finish the flow, and then it's open for Q&A. Happy to take all the questions and more after that, right? So let me start with a quick introduction about myself, maybe put some context into what we are doing, right? So very quickly, Jagat Iyer here, Bangalore boy, firstly, very proud, to be born here in Nama Karnataka, Nama Bengaluru. I'm an engineer, did my education at NIT Prayagraj. I'm also from National Public School here, Christ College. So very deep roots in Bangalore and Karnataka, which is what makes this, this engagement very, very special to me. Started, like many people, maybe, had a bit of a stint in the corporate world, but right out of college, when I was 22, I started my first company. And that was, I would say, like in 2008. And 2010, when I was about 24, 25, I started my company, which is still run today. So it's been a 14-year journey for me. Of course, when I started in 2010, the word startup was not so well defined. 2010, we just wanted to do our own thing, run the business, build things. But today we have this whole thesis and this whole lexicon, the jargons, all of these things are very, very sorted now, right? But I want to revisit some of these, as I talk about this. Very quickly, my entrepreneurial journey, as I said, started in 2010, launched one of India's first social commerce companies, platforms back then. Realized very quickly it was a mistake. We didn't have social networking too much in 2010. Not even we had e-commerce. So it was probably not the best idea at the time. Early learnings for me. And 2012 to 2016, I was quite lucky because the word had spread about what we were building. And I had a lot of wonderful organizations, global organizations, like Underwriters Laboratories, Cushman Wakefield, Rentokil Initial. These are some of the largest companies in their space, like Safety Science or property management. All of them about 300 years old each. I had the fortune of working on some really wonderful projects for them through my company. And then in 2016, it really struck me that, let's get back to products. I gained some more experience. We had some money in the bank. And I felt, okay, now is, when we want to take the next step. And that's when I realized that, 10% or less than 10% of India knows English. And 90% of India does not know English. And that number just hit me by storm, because I've been a Bangalore boy all my life. When I went to UP to do my engineering at NIT, I realized that Bangalore and UP are very different, right? Here English goes, and we have, certain things that are assumed. Today, UP is a lot better, I believe. But back in 2004, they used to be called the Bimaru states. And Bimaru, I mean like Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh. And really, they were like very, very bad in terms of the, poverty scenarios, opportunities. It was really tough. And I realized like that is really India. And I've always been very, fairly patriotic. I love my country. And I felt if I need to build real solutions, I should not be building for Bangalore or for Mumbai or Hyderabad. I need to build for, places 100 kilometers from Bangalore, 100 kilometers from Chennai. And that's when I felt like video was very important, because video by default is vernacular like this, right? We've been working for a long time in the tech industry to bring people of other languages, non-native English speakers, into the internet fold. Now, the whole internet, I don't know how many of you here are computer science guys, but if you look at the whole internet, the whole nomenclature, the systems, everything is English-based, right? Now, it's very, very tough, very challenging to make this accessible only with text. But with video, as we have seen post-2020, we have seen that, video is, why hasn't this happened earlier? We had phone calls for a long time. But video was very, very restricted to boardrooms or, one or two chat apps like FaceTime or Emo or something. There was no Zoom then really big. There was no other competition that we have. And that's the reason I started building video chat. So in 2016, in May, I launched India's first video chat app. This was built before Google Duo and WhatsApp video chat and all of that, right out of here, Bangalore. We come from no background of video and video communications. I'm not ex-Cisco or ex-Zoom. It was just, me and my co-founder who really built this out from scratch because we felt we had to do it. We didn't do it for an opportunity like it exists today. We did it because I felt India has to come on the internet, and video seemed very important. So in this journey, I've raised money. We've raised money from angel investors from Google, Harvard, KPMG, EY, Goldman Sachs. Government of Karnataka has, given us a lot of grants. The STPI, which is the Department of, which is the MeitY, part of MeitY of the Government of India, are shareholders in our company. And we've had a bunch of wonderful recognitions and achievements, which are very important to propel us in this journey. I want to talk about my mission and motivations. I'm sure a lot of you also are doing a startup for whatever reasons, right? But my mission really was never to, build a unicorn or sunicorn or billions and stuff like this. It was about giving myself a workplace where I was really excited every day, where we were building cutting edge things. And I worked with people I really genuinely loved and liked, right? You may have all heard the story that, most of your friends who are working, they may not like their managers, right? Somehow I felt very awkward about this because I always felt like as a team, you have to love each other. You need to, be working with people you like. But I found it surprising that most employees hate their manager, they hate their jobs. I said, I don't want to get into this. So that's how I started. Very, very simple. We wanted to be independent and build. And my motivation really is I always believe companies exist to serve society. Today, on one side, you have the government and the country that's growing. And on the other side, you have companies and, the economy. I always believe that these actually should be together. Companies should exist to serve society. And that's the way I look at things, right? So this is why I started. So keeping this in mind, let me get to, the meat of this topic. And I always like to do like a deconstruction of the topic so that the problem statement is very clear, right? Now, key factors for startup success. I just want to check again. I hope everyone's able to hear me. Just confirming. Can you just comment or anything or just tell me yes? Okay. Thanks, Anzil. Thank you. Thanks, Sujan. Okay, so, right. Let me just open this up. Can I open this up to the audience? Like, I want to know from you guys first, like your views. And there is no right or wrong, right? Feel free to put in your thoughts. I want to hear, what factors do you think are important factors for startup success? Vidya, Vishal, Aman, Sujay, Anzil, please feel free to type away. What are these startup factors? Should you be born in a rich family? Should, I don't know, like whatever it could be, anything that comes to your mind. Marry into a rich wife, anything goes, guys. I'm happy to open this up. First to hear, which build blocks to reach the goal? Okay. I'm talking about what factors do you think are important for us to succeed? Just in your own words. Strong team, passion, wonderful. Syed Hassan, very good. Aman, who else? That's it. Strong team and passion. Best product, maybe. Government policies, confidence, idea. Yeah. So you guys have been doing your reading on startups quite a lot, right? Discipline, founder's vision, execution, hardworking and zeal, market research, persistence, risk, sustainable product. Absolutely awesome, guys. You don't need my session. All the topics. No, these are all very, very accurate, what you have written, each one of these points. And I'm just going to put some structure into this, right? I think all of your points are correct. Capital, for sure. Networking, wonderful. That's really great, guys. I want you all to look at the chat log so that you can all see your own answers and your friends' answers and your peers. A lot of these are absolutely right. Okay. First, before we get to trying to define this factors, I want to open up the thing to say that what do we mean by key factors? What do we mean by a startup? And what does success look like for a startup? I'm not talking of all the factors. There could be multiple factors, right? There could be something like demonetization that helped propel Paytm. There could be pandemic that propelled video chat. These are not key factors. There are some incidents, or there could be some one-off incident. But when I look at the key factors, I'm saying without these, it is impossible to succeed. Okay, without these, it is impossible to succeed. What is a factor? A factor is a circumstance, fact, or influence that contributes to a result. Okay, this is what a factor means. Now, what I mean by startup success, can anyone tell me? What is startup success? When do you call a startup a success? Or you can even give me examples of startups that you think are successes in India and worldwide. What do you think has been a successful startup? Product market fit, success of a product. What does success of a product mean? Okay, product market fit's great. Okay, Aman, very nice. Requirement for the product in society, I call it a market need. Okay, but does that mean you're a successful product? Zepto. Okay, all right. Ather Energy. Okay. When Steve Jobs was kicked by Apple and he built Next. So yeah, quick commerce, more profit. Well, I don't think the startups in India would agree too much with all the losses, but that's the reason to do business, more profit. You're right. Okay, fill the gap. Okay. I just want to talk about the failure rate of startups, right? I think most of you are aware that 90 to 95% of startups fail. That's a shocking number. Just imagine if 90 to 95% of people in jobs got fired the next day. That would be scary, wouldn't it? So before we look at startup success, let us first look at not losing, which is to stay in the game, right? Unless you stay in the game, how are you going to win? And when the odds are against you, saying that 95% of startups or even businesses, fail in 3 years, success is later. First is survival. Survival is first, right? A lot of these companies, in my view, I would not consider successful. What I call successful is, the best definition that I've heard of startups, and there are multiple of them, right? I think you also know the difference between startups and small business. How does one differentiate a restaurant that's open versus a startup app product, right? So startup is more tech focused. It is infinitely scalable, and the cost should proportionally reduce. Every time I put up a new restaurant or a new factory in the SMBs, the cost for putting up a new restaurant is not coming down exponentially. We are not able to scale from here to US and to China in the speed we can do in a digital world. So these define what a startup is. Many people say I started a restaurant, it's a startup. No, it's not a startup. Zomato was a startup because it can scale infinitely with minimum incremental cost. That's very important concept, right? And startups are built to scale very fast. It's like the difference between a slow helicopter and a rocket ship. Okay, I would say the slow helicopters are the older traditional businesses, brick and mortar. When you build a startup, it's a rocket ship. Okay, it's built for taking over the market very fast and kind of going everywhere very, very quickly. High risk, high reward. Steve Blank defines a startup very, very nicely, right? And he says it is a temporary organization that is built to search for a scalable and repeatable business model. Okay, this is one of the best things I learned in my life. A startup is not a small company, or if you just do something innovative, it's not a startup. Apple calls itself the world's largest startup. That's not a startup. A startup, the goal of every startup, is it to remain a startup for the rest of their lives? No. It's like the goal of every human being. When you're a baby, you next move to adult. You become an adult. Nobody can be a baby all their life, right? So a temporary organization that is built to search for a scalable and repeatable business model. This is the definition of startups that I feel most accurate. Okay, you people can go and read more about Steve Blank. He's a professor, I think, at Stanford. Wonderful, theory and concepts, right? So please understand that the goal of every startup is to become a public company, is to become a large company. No startup wants to stay a startup ever. So until you become a really large, profitable, scalable business, you are a startup. Are we clear about this? It's not about the number of people or all of this stuff. No. The moment you have found a scalable and repeatable business model, you are no more a startup. You are an established business. Okay? Would anyone call Coca-Cola a startup today? Probably not. Coca-Cola has already found their scalable and repeatable business model. Hence, it's not a startup. But maybe a paper boat or some of these new, health drinks, these are startups. They are still trying to find their place, find their repeatable business model. So they are startups. The moment they find it, they cease to be a startup. They become a large business or a business. Coming to, the type of startups, there are broadly two. I could also add in like, B2B2C, but I won't get there right now, right? My suggestion to all the students, always look at only a consumer company. I hope you all understand the difference between B2B and B2C, right? So if your business caters to end customers like you and me as people, individuals, or we call it the retail market, you're a B2C company. If you are going to solve enterprise problems like a CRM and ERP, a fintech product, etc., you're a B2B startup. You sell to businesses. Typically, B2B startups are started up by people with deep domain expertise, networks, and stuff like this, because there is a lot of complexity in B2B. A consumer startup, think of a Snapchat when it started or anything. It's like single feature, two features. Look at Tinder, for example, right? It's just left, right, some profiles. But if you look at an ERP, the complexity of not only the software, but the workflows, the deployments, the scale, everything is in a different level. Okay, B2B products are a lot more complicated. The sales cycle is a lot longer. It's more sales driven. B2C companies, I always suggest college students and people who are freshers who don't have deep networks or industry expertise to only look at consumer-facing companies. You look at Facebook, you look at Google, you look at a lot of companies, right, in the valley, Instagram, Pinterest, you name it. Was any of these a B2B company? They were all started by 19, 20, 21-year-olds, building for their friends, building for themselves. So a big part of my suggestion is to eliminate B2B from your mind right now as a student. Okay? And look at B2C and focus only on B2C companies. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to restrict this to B2C startup factors. B2B has different ones. I hope that's clear. Team, give me a, that was great. Or I'm with you as a comment, so I know you guys are following with me. Okay. I hope you're finding this insightful. Okay. You can just say with you, Jagat, with you, right? So that I know that all of you are understanding and able to grasp what we are talking about. Okay. Now, let me get to the next point, which is the actual factors. This is the main part of the whole presentation, guys. Okay. I'm going to outline 10 factors. Nobody told you this was easy, right? Did anyone tell you that you need 1 or 2 factors to make this successful? No. These are 10 necessary and sufficient conditions for startup success. I want to start with factor number 1. The very first question is validating the startup idea. See, when you're coming up with a startup idea, who cannot come up with a startup idea, right? You can have a pet, a startup to walk your dogs. You can have a startup for left-handed people. You can have a startup for, anything under the sun. Who cannot have ideas? Nobody has monopoly on ideas. But whether it is a viable startup idea, we put what we call a 5P test to this. 5 Ps. If it qualifies these 5 Ps, you can say that you have found a profitable or a viable startup idea. I can't just say that I'm going to build fax printers, right? Fax machines right now, right? Nobody has that problem. It all starts with the problem. And the persona. These are 2 very, very important first steps. A person has some problem in the market. There is an unmet customer need. Okay? And that is the starting point of most of the business ideas. And for B2C companies, I always suggest try and solve a problem that you yourself have. So you are like the potential first customer of this product, right? So you have to have an unmet customer need. You have to identify this. So in my case, in 2016, when I started, I just found that people did not have a video identity. People had a phone number. They had an email address. They had a home address, but there was no video identity. And I felt that an identity is very fundamental to building the network, the video network. So vidphone.me/Jagat is my video identity. Without an identity, I cannot communicate. We depend on scheduled links. So that was the root of the problem. Now, of course, we have gone to advanced problems. How can we really use hybrid work through video and help a startup founder grow his company? The problem changes sometimes over time, okay? But identify this very specific problem. You may note that, maybe you will notice that, there is no real potential for venture capital, fund, investors to fund in a systematic way into startups, in colleges. That may be a problem that you may be facing. So you take that as the problem statement, put yourself as the founder, and solve for that niche, okay? So these are the 2 important ones, problem and persona. But I would always say start with persona first, okay? Because that person will have the problem. The problem, everyone will not have the same problem. But when you define this persona, we also call this like ICP, ideal customer profile, target audience, whatever you may call it, okay? This has to be, for whom you're building is number 1. 2 is what is the problem that they have right now that is not being solved by the existing options. The 3rd is you need to have a crazy passion. I mean, I think passion is an underrated word, guys. I use the word passion is a fashion. Everyone says they are passionate. No, this is not just about passion. This is about a different level of passion altogether. It's an obsession with the problem and the solution. Okay. Why is this important? Let me say that, you all took up jobs, good, well-paying jobs. Right? And let's say after a few months, you decided, hey, I don't want to go to office today. I just want to be at home. You did that another 3-4 days. What would happen? Can anyone tell me what will happen if you just don't show up in the office for 3-4 days? You may have your HR or your manager kind of saying, hey, do you want to continue here? What's your problem? This is what I call like negative motivation. A lot of people go HR call, yes. A lot of people go to their jobs, not because they are like very, very passionate about the problem or the team or anything. They are having negative mood. They are afraid of the consequences of not going. They may get fired. They may lose money. They may lose their reputation. I call all of this negative motivation. Now, if you are the founder CEO of your startup, who's going to fire you guys? Okay. So you can just take 4 days off and nobody's going to fire you. So what's going to motivate you to work? It's definitely not fear. You're not afraid of anyone there. So you need to have intense passion, which is what will keep you in this journey, not only in the beginning, but through the multiple failures that we need to look at. Okay. And the last 2 points. Look, let's say you did all of this and then the price was free, right? Is that a business? Would you call that a business? No. People have to be willing to pay a price for your solution or your product. If you look at most of people in the video communication space today, I would say that it has almost become completely free. And if you look at the revenues of my competition, you will see that they have pretty much plateaued and they are now declining. So this is very, very important. At the same time, you may understand that Apple, for example, as a company, was not too longer back, one of the largest companies in the world, the largest company in the world. They are able to sell their product at about 5-6 times their competition price, right? So that's very, very important. The more number of people who can pay you more money means more revenue into the business. Simple. And the last point is, I would say it has to have potential. Would it be viable if I started let's say if I made cameras? Would that be a viable business? I may have like 20 years experience at Kodak, right? Or at Nikon. But today, if I said I want to start a camera startup, do you think it has potential? Team, people, students, please make this interactive. It's not a class. Okay, share your thoughts with me. Please comment freely. No right or wrong. Yes. We cannot go after businesses that have no potential. I cannot start a fax business. I cannot start a landline business. I cannot start a cable TV business today. I may have great experience. I know all of these pieces, but if there's no potential, that's not a viable startup idea. I hope this has given you some insights, people. Many people say, I started a company because I felt it's a good idea. And then when they meet failure, they say, no. The problem is with the customer, problem is with the vendor, everyone but ourselves. But this exercise, the 5 Ps, will give you a lot of first level validation, whether there is potential here or not. Making sense? Is this valuable? If you found this first factor valuable and can give you some direction, do say valuable. Okay? Say valuable. Factor number 2. I'm not seeing any valuables yet. I'll go to 2 once I get a few valuables. This is one of the most amazing things that I discovered myself. How to have a filter for startup ideas. Because like all of you, I come up with a lot of ideas. So I need to have some kind of a filter before we go and build the product, sell the product, etc. That it satisfies these 5 criteria. Okay. Factor number 2, of course, the team. Okay, of course, there's no question about this. Many people think that companies are, that the CEOs of the companies are like the main face. Right? If I tell you today, Tesla, you'll think of Elon Musk. If I tell you about Facebook, who comes to mind? Zuckerberg. If I tell you Reliance, Ambani. But this is not true. On one hand, you can have professionals like a doctor or a CA or a CS. Now, these are professionals. They look at their independent work, solo work. Maybe they have small teams, but they don't leverage teams the way businesses or startups leverage teams. So it's very important for you to have the right team and to build the right team. By team, I don't mean headcount. Today, all of you will be hearing how many people are getting fired today. 1 year back, you saw how many people were getting hired by the same startup, right? That's not the way to build startups. We need to build startups in a very measured and a very clear way. And I always look for what are the motivations of my team members. Most people would come in and say, I want a better job, or I want a pay hike, I want a new opportunity, etc., etc. These are all stuff that everybody says, right? But what are their real motivations? Do they really care about the problem? Have they faced some problem? Somebody near them has faced a problem they want to solve. Are they genuinely interested? So motivation is for me very, very critical. And I look at one single thing. I want to be world class. If our developers or our teams, I like to set the benchmark very, very high, which is world class. There's no other reason why you should join our team. If you want money, you want recognition, you want etc., etc., there are a lot of companies to go there. But if you want to join our company, you have to have single-minded motivation. I want to be the best at what I do. Okay, this is our own benchmark. You could have your own kind of motivation filter. The second is called trust. I come to very, very basic things as human beings, people. Please understand, a startup is nothing but another company. It's a smaller version of a company. And what does the word company mean? You're the company of people. So I take this word very, very literally. Unlike real estate or construction or other industries, manufacturing, your company does not include a lot of assets, industry, machinery, all of that stuff. In tech startups, it's just the people. So we are a people business. So if we don't trust each other, I think we have very shaky foundations for a team, for a sustainable company. Today, you'll see that most Indian startups, not most, I would say almost all popular Indian startups, the founding teams are no more together. Okay, for various reasons. But to me, I like to build a team like I'm building a music band, like I'm building a sports team. There is trust. You have to know that the person who's in charge of that task, let's say he's opening the batting or he's wicket keeping, he comes through with his job, come through with his task. Okay. Yep. Please don't scribble on my screen, guys. Okay. That is what is trust. Trust is the fact that you can expect somebody to come through on their commitment and they can expect you to come through on your commitment. This is trust. And trust is not built overnight. Many people think, hey, he's a nice guy, he's a good-looking guy, he's very soft-spoken. No. Trust is what I tell you, repeated behavior over time. You build trust over time. And that's one of the most important things. Third, of course, someone mentioned leadership. Cannot emphasize more, especially in today's day and age. Unless you have a strong leader, it is impossible to build a strong team, because at a lot of levels, the leader is like the founder CEO is like the gel that brings the team together. Okay. So leadership is very, very important. Company building. We need to be able to go beyond a founding team. When you have hundreds of crores of revenue, your own friends, 3-4 people in a house cannot run this company. The team needs to change completely. It's like, going to a small chai shop near your bakery where you drink a 10 rupee chai and going to Starbucks. Is there anything similar about the two? You're both just having a beverage. but entirely different dynamics. Okay. And the most important, one of the things that I see a lot, or I always encourage, is cross-functional skills. Many people think that, and it's right, that engineers take up majority of the founders. Like if you see the founders, the maximum percentage of founders are engineers, followed by MBA. But these would create very boring companies, guys. I mean, I also love computer science, but I must say that, I love sports as well. And I don't think all the geeks or the nerds there are very good at sports, are very good at music. Yeah. So I think we have had a kind of a big phase where startups have only been built by so-called techies. You will have artists, you will have, musicians, all kinds of people who will be able to build startups, and that's very, very important, because things like team sports, is very different from an individual sport. There may be an individual performer. He may be good at chess or, some individual sport like badminton or tennis. But to run a team sport, like a football team, a cricket team, you require a different set of skills. Okay. So always think from the beginning, how can you be rounded? Not just keep studying or do sales or do tech. Build up a worldview where you know multiple things. Today, if you look at any startup problem, it lies at the cusp of many industries, many knowledge verticals. Okay. There is software, there is, logistics, there may be compliance, there is accounts, there is HR, there is finance, there is sales, marketing, plus the industry vertical. So as a CEO or a founder, unless you have a reasonable worldview of the space, you cannot move. So very, very important. Have a well-rounded team that you can trust with the right leader, right motivations, and the right kind of ingredients to scale the company. Okay. I hope that's clear. Very, very important. Stress on team before anything else, because you may have multiple products, you will have multiple customers. Even your investors may come and go, but who's going to be with you are your people, your employees, your team. Okay. I don't like the word employees. I always call it team. Okay. Factor 3. This is something that I want to really be focused on, guys. I've heard too many stories how Bangalore is Silicon Valley of East. We are, Uber is there, Ola is Uber of India, Flipkart is Amazon of India. This is not the way I believe to build serious startups. You have to be authentic, right? It's not just looking at what happened in China or the US and then copying that model for Indian market. Because guess what happened? There was Ola, right? Who is winning that taxi industry today? It's Uber. There was Flipkart. Who's winning it? Amazon. Please understand that anytime you're trying to copy their model, but if they come in with the capital, they are like, it's going to be very, very easy to kind of beat the Indian competition. So I always look at authenticity, a unique insight, and irreplaceability as very, very important ingredients. I hope it's making sense. Authenticity means coming up with something that you have built an independent thesis on with research. When I started video, for example, there was no Zoom that we saw, there was no Meet, no Teams, right? I just felt very authentically like I need a video ID that people can call me from any browser. Something that is permanent, like my phone number, where if you have Airtel, it's a permanent number. People can call you from any network, from Jio, Vodafone. Same thing with email. And when I look at the evolution of communication mediums, it's text, voice, video. I said, wow, text and voice, we have video and voice identity or phone number. How come it's not there in video? It has to be there. This was my single insight. Nobody in the world thought this way. It was authentic just from my own experience and kind of thought. Till today, I would say that in spite of having Google, Microsoft, Zoom, you name it, as competition, where we come in, we are irreplaceable. Okay. And that's very important for us, which is why we are still in the market and probably, poised for a lot more growth. I hope this makes sense. Something that you don't get in the textbooks.
Jagat, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
A few questions, if we can cover on the questions.
Okay. All right.
Can we go ahead with questions?
Shall I do 5 and then the next 5? Is that okay? Just 2 more here.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
That'll
fine.
be kind of covers.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ketan. Yeah, will do. The fourth factor, which is most important, is the competitive moat and differentiation.
Okay.
Okay, competitive moat means why won't your existing bigger competition come into your business and take away your business? What is the secret sauce that you have that big companies cannot come? For us, it was our expertise in WebRTC, our thought process around this video identity, and innovation, which is very, very important. Okay, so always look to build a competitive moat. Today, you may not have competition, but suppose somebody who is very nearby your space wants to enter. They say, okay, we're putting $1 billion in this project. We are hiring 1,000 people. Go and take this market. It should be very tough for them still to take your market. This is very important. That comes through differentiation, right? What makes Apple Apple? Apple, I mean the phone, etc., not the fruit, right? There is Samsung, there is Huawei, there is LG, but can anybody touch Apple? No. And that's the business. That's a sustainable. What was a startup really become an enterprise. That's differentiation. The fifth point I want to mention is actually like something that's not too much talked about, but in my journey, I figured out that this is the most important thing for startups: positioning. Okay. See, consumers don't buy products in isolation. I don't say, hey, let me go buy an iPhone. No. I say, hey, let me buy a phone. Then I think about what we call the categories, product categories, ladders. It's a ladder of products. Down you may find Oppo, Vivo, OnePlus, Samsung. Then you have Apple at the top, right? So there is a ladder. Similarly in cars, a Maruti car, right? Alto. Then you go up to Hyundai maybe. Then there is Honda City. Then you may move to a Fortuner. Then you go to a Mercedes, etc. There is a product ladder in every category. Okay, where you fit in this ladder? Are you a Mercedes? Are you a Maruti car? Are you a Hyundai? Are you a Reva? This is very important. Knowing where you fit in that product ladder is very important, and there is detailed ways how to nail your positioning. It's like how I say we are not video communications. We are the video phone for business, or we are a video commerce platform, right? So though we may have similar tools, the positioning is totally different. We are about video commerce, okay? So 5 points very quickly: validate the startup idea, team, authenticity, unique insight and irreplaceability, competitive moat and differentiation, and positioning. Now I'll take a few questions, as I said. So it has moved from B2C to B2B services. B2C tends to be difficult.
Message.
Vesuvius, HyperX Fit. Hi, Vesuvius. So we have Greek people here. Nice to meet you, Vesuvius. It's a good
Messages ಬಂದಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ chat ಅಲ್ಲಿ
B2C
chat ಹೋಗುತ್ತಾ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲೇ.
Vesuvius, very good question. Now, I don't know why you call it's a startup and you have services. Typically, a startup is a product. Okay. Now, I need to know a little bit more detail, but what you have said is true. B2C is a lot more capital intensive, marketing driven. Why do you think Elon Musk and Zuckerberg want to have a MMA fight? Can you think about it? I mean, they're both adults, fathers, responsible adults. Why are they saying they want to fight each other in MMA? Because they're all consumer brands. They're not enterprise brands. And as a consumer brand, you need to always stay relevant. People need to have recall immediately, right? So that's marketing. Okay. It is true. My suggestion, if you're still in college, is to switch to B2C, go through that 5 Ps exercise. The cost need not be high. It's not generic. When you do a B2C, if you do a B2C company, it is expensive if you go after everybody under the sun. You will never do that. Okay? You will never do that. It is, for Cred or for Byju's, it is expensive marketing because they're on IPL and they're targeting everybody. But when you start a company, you're not going to target everyone. You are going to go to that niche, that particular problem set. Let's say in edtech, education, I'm only solving for CAs. I'm only solving for fashion designers, only for cooks. Anything, pick a vertical. Then your once you narrow down your niche, your messaging becomes very key, which will reduce your cost of marketing in a big way. Let's say I had to put out an ad saying, hey, all the men, please try this new brand of deodorant. Hey, all the men, hey, all the men, try this new brand of deodorant. It's a big company ad. But if you are a small company, you will say, hey, guys who are working in construction, or guys who are interested in florals or environment in Bangalore, try this. It's a lot more targeted and specific. That way, your messaging becomes very accurate. Your overall burn in the customer acquisition reduces drastically. So to optimize B2C, please narrow your niche, problem, solution, go through that exercise. But I would suggest B2B is, again, services is not a startup. It has to be a tech product. Okay. Services consulting is not startups. Please, I hope that clears. Okay. Exorbitant marketing for sure. Yeah. Okay. So I hope the advice was useful. Passion is central to idea discovery, but for students presenting the idea, how do we keep the passion going until you start the business? Okay. It's not that you start the business and you get passion. You need to be passionate about something and then start the business. It's better that way. Okay, I don't know. I'm sure most of you will get married, are married. So it's like, falling in love with somebody and marrying, or marrying somebody and then falling in love with them. Both have their own ways of doing things, right? Now, I would say the second option is where you do a B2B company. Let's say you join a bank, you worked at a bank for 10 years. You can build a fintech product. You're passionate about finance and stuff like that. But let's say you just love, I don't know, food, and you want to kind of build a peer-to-peer, like an Airbnb for food, where in apartments you can buy food from your neighbors, and you want to build a business. You have the passion for food, and then that's what builds the business. So there's no right or wrong. My father jokes, does it matter whether you sleep and wear your bedsheet or wear your bedsheet and sleep? Right? So eventually you've got to do both. So I hope that answers. And passion is not, as I said, passion is a fashion. Everyone tells me today they're passionate about AI. Well, it's a fashion. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Passion is not something that we forced upon. You either love dogs or you love cats. Why? Okay? But make sure that that passion is combined with those other 4 P's. There is a problem, there is a person that wants your solution, is willing to pay a price for it, and that there is a potential in the industry. And passion is one of the components. Even if one person in your team has passion and you're a good team, it's good. It's like Dhoni has certain mindset. Okay, I hope it's all clear, guys. Now, let me just quickly go through the other 5 very quickly. I hope that's okay, Keertan. Shall I continue? I'm kind of a little bit overshot, but maybe in 5 minutes I'll wrap up. Okay. Again, no right or wrong answers here. Oops. Okay. Yeah. Let me go to factor number 6. This is something that I learned very important. Now, what is your startup DNA? Like you said, there are 3 big things. One is a product leadership. One is a customer intimacy, or operational excellence. Right? It's very rare that you will find a company that has even 2 of these very important traits. And let me give you examples of these. When I look at product leadership, I would say a company like a Apple or a Tesla, right? These are technologically industry leading. Okay. That is kind of quintessential product leadership. Maybe a Rolls-Royce. These are the product leadership companies. Customer intimacy. Amazon. Amazon's all about customer success. They love their customers. Put a smile, Amazon. They don't have the greatest product leaderships. They don't keep the best kind of products or anything like that. But their focus is customer support. They're very close to the customer. Maybe your local Micromax guy can do better servicing job than an Apple. But that's not where Apple plays at all. And the third is, let's say, an operational excellence. where many companies into logistics, manufacturing, just in time, etc., their processes internally is what gives them efficiency. Toyota. I hope this is making sense, guys. This is a very important concept. You need to identify based on your skills, your team skills, your problems, etc., where you want to play. You want to play in product leadership, which means heavy R&D, massively engineering backgrounds, stuff like this. Customer intimacy, excellent customer support, got wonderful sales and marketing teams, etc. Operational excellence, process management, people who are traditionally great at organizing and managing things. You need to see which is your strength, and then you can build on this one. Okay, this is not something that you say, okay, I'm going to do product leadership. No, as you build the company, you will realize your DNA, but you accept that and play to that. Okay, never try and do 2 or more things. Stick to only one because it's really hard. Factor number 7. I call this the MVP PMF GTM motion. So I think all of you would know minimum viable product. Minimum viable product, then it has to come to a product market fit. Then that product market fit has to go to a go-to-market motion. This is very important. You may have a great product, you may have a wonderful team funding, but if you don't have this customer journey figured out, it's a research project. Okay, you're not a business. Okay, so validate the hypothesis. How does one find PMF? One of the holy grail questions. The answer is nobody knows. There is no formula for PMF. You have to perform a set of experiments, have enough financial runway to perform 5-6 experiments, and learn and improve. You will find product market fit. Some people may take 10 experiments, 3 experiments, 100 experiments. There is nothing about this. So it is a mindset of creation, experimenting, and learning. So please, this is very, very important. No product sells by itself. This has to be nailed. Factor 8. Something very, very important. There was a recent interview that Jensen Huang of NVIDIA said. He was at a very big B school to all those top students. And he said, I wish a lot of you fail. When you're a topper in your class, your top school, top college, it becomes very tough to fail, guys. But one thing very important in building a company is to be okay with failure. Okay, please develop this appetite to try and to fail. It's okay. No one's going to judge you, or at least you should not care. Because there's a quote I learned, sir. A master is not someone who's never made mistakes. A master is someone who has made all the mistakes. Please understand this. Okay, so have risk, appetite to fail and learn. It's not just to keep making blunders and doing stupid mistakes. You're performing experiments and failing, and you're learning from it, improving the experiment. Okay, speed, perseverance, and feedback release groups. I think this is set of the mindset of a startup. These are all you don't do in a large company. You avoid risk. You are not allowed to fail. If you make a mistake in a big company, 2 warnings and you're out. You're expected to go as per the process. Yeah. And there's not too much of feedback release because the product, the business model has been crystallized. So this is the very essence of a startup. Okay? Last 2 points. This is something that I'm figuring out. I'm learning as well. It's not easy, easier said than done. We often hype up innovation too much. Okay, innovation is great in a lab, it's great in R&D. But when you talk of business, I'm talking of wallet share, market exists or not, etc., etc. And this word first mover advantage, like I'm the first mover in this space, may not always be the best business move. It may be the best move in terms of you calling yourself a pioneer over here or etc. But I always look at which is the last mover, who's the last company to do that space. For an example, Google was not the first search engine. It is the last search engine that matters. Facebook was not the first startup network, social network. It was the last social network that matters. Okay, there was Mini cars in India way before Tesla electric cars. Okay, but Tesla and other companies are the last. So aim how you can be the last mover advantage. You learn from the mistakes of all the people who have gone ahead, and you launch a superior product. Okay, it takes a lot of skill to nail this, but don't always think that innovation and business go hand in hand. Many times it does not. Some of the first companies always fail. Okay, so be aware and conscious of this. And the last point, as I said, the goal of every startup is to become a large company. Now, what you know when you're 4 years old, or the people you hang out with, the things you do are not the same as what you do when you're 40 years old, correct? Company is very much the same way. For a startup to really succeed, it has to reinvent itself. Many times the founders who are engineers are good at going 0 to 1. They may build the product, but they may not be great at managing a large enterprise, processes, reporting. You need to hire a CEO. You are the founder. The CEO is an operation, is a job. Okay? So these all are necessities. How to project the company. Now, for example, Facebook had a lot of issues with privacy and all of these things. So Zuckerberg navigated to Meta and AR and all this, right? So these are, I would say, later on, once you have established and crossed that, but I think that's when you become really successful. Okay, so these are all the factors here. I think I'm out of time. Please read this, people. These are not just some startup, factors that are existing somewhere. You can gain them today, here and now.
Right.
Answer these questions. Why you, why now? Okay. Second, high failure rate. There is no textbook, no course on Blueprint. Many of you may do an MBA. Okay.
Jagat, we are slightly moving ahead of time.
Done.
But
just take a screenshot and I'm winding up. Open the Q&A. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. I hope it was useful. Yeah.
no. Great insights. Thank you very much, Jagat. I mean, appreciate your passion, and you've always been supportive to Manthan for a long time. Thank you so much. You can.
Good luck to all the students.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir, for an interactive session. I'm sure the students have taken a lot of takeaways. It was definitely thought-provoking. I'm sure the slide was very crisp. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
I take this opportunity to welcome Dr. C.A.I.S. Prasad, Advisor Manthan-2024 and past President FKCCI. Over to you, sir.
Very good afternoon to all my young, vibrant teams, my chairman Kirtan Kumar and Ramya Madam, and my president, I think, will be in the online. All the 100 teams has been selected for the next round. I would like to take just few minutes of your time outside the ambit of what has been addressing by all the learner speakers. You all have to be cheer up and get up for the Modi 3.0. That means there is more vibrations, there are more positive actions, the more initiatives by the government of India to accelerate your dream to convert into reality. Startup capital and startup India, like you see that 127,000 registered in Karnataka and India, and 150 unicorns going to be in next 5 years. You all seen that how space mission. Now the technology, what is most important, all of you to think is deep technology, space technology, and again EVs. Coming to domestic market in India, what you should do, talk about the initiative of the government, because the previous speaker talks about AI, and the AI has been involved in every product, be it manufacturing, services, or engineering, or R&D. You should also factor that the Bangalore has been most destination place for R&D centers. Both state government and central government very active in bringing all the platform for you to visualize your dream. The government of India has been lot of schemes benefit. I think in the course of your next round, our Kirtan Kumar and team will going to enlighten why you should think of startup. What is important, all the 100 teams which have been now listening, make the drawing room, the idea validation, and think beyond what you can, because the market in India is infrastructure, the insurance, the electric vehicles, so many products and design, and so much has been there for you to think beyond. Your idea, a sustainable goal, your marketing, I think all my financial consultant speakers will talk about the business plans. Our Honorable Prime Minister of India is always support you to make India 2047 a 10 trillion or 30 trillion economy. We are all fortunate, and you are fortunate that joining the FKCCI Manthan business plan make your dream to become true, make your dream of your parents to become reality, and make contribute to nation development. Be proud to be an Indian. I don't want to take much time. All the best. I would like to see many, many unicorns. As a professional, as an advisor of Manthan business, I have got a team of several chartered accountants in the team like Shravan and others. We'll offer you service to establish your companies at free of cost for beginning of year. So dream high, think high, contribute, and immensely benefit from every workshop. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, for always encouraging, and you have been constantly driving a lot of students and bringing in great people to Manthan, sir. So we respect and honor your words of wisdom, sir. Thank you very much.
God bless.
Next. Yeah.
As we move forward in our second online workshop of the Manthan Business Plan Competition, I'm pleased to introduce our next esteemed speaker, Mr. Chinmay Ananda. Mr. Chinmay Ananda is a renowned financial educator, business storyteller, international speaker, and the author of highly acclaimed book, Fundamentals of Financial Statements. With a passion for simplifying complex financial concepts, Mr. Chinmay has empowered numerous entrepreneurs and business professionals.
Ramya ma'am,
Yes.
I'm really sorry to stop you because we are running out of time.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Bio data,
Okay, sir. Sure.
I think I'll take it from here with your permission and with the Kirtan's permission. Kirtan, it's so good to see you. Yes, Prasad sir, I think you're still behind the camera. Good to see you, sir. Now, participants, I can't see any one of you. Please turn on your video. Just now, Prasad sir said, no, he has been generous in saying that he and his other chartered accountant colleague of his would be happy to give 1 year of not free service completely as such, but they'll help you to set up something. Now, if someone has to offer something to someone, that person has to be visible. That person needs to be seen. Oh, good, Parth, good to see you. Rahil, Ashwini, Ramya, and RVIM. Are you RV Institute of Management in Jayanagar? Okay, I've given a couple of talks over there. See, again, half of the success is showing up and preferably showing up on time. So I'm sure with whatever you're doing, this will eventually lead you to something else if you have that entrepreneurial spirit in you. Now, people have been asking me, Chinmay, this business plan competition, 14 pages, 20 pages, it is very tiresome. Can we reduce it? And of course, we have got business model canvas. And today, people don't even want to complete that business model canvas. They want something like this. So anyway, because that is what the market needs or market is looking after, I spent a lot of time interacting with a lot of financial gurus, chartered accountants, management accountants, investors with regards to how can we further reduce this pitch so that at least the investors or the jury members get excited with a particular business plan, and at the same time, they would like to know more about this particular plan. And this is what I have come up with after interacting with a lot of people, further condensing the business plan and the business model canvas. So I hope you all have a paper and a pen ready with you. So kindly fill up the blanks. If our client or customer gives us dash rupees, so it has to be tangible. Is it 10 rupees, 50 rupees, 100, 2000 rupees? For the product or service, we or I will give them dash. So what are you going to give them if someone is going to give you money? And within dash time, is it something you can deliver immediately, or will you take some time to deliver? Is it days, weeks? Now, each and every word in this particular sentence has been really thought through. First, client or customer. Who has your money? Someone was talking about B2B and B2C, and you were asking questions to Jagat. So are you in a B2B space or B2C space or B2G space? Are you selling something to the government? So who has the money? You need to be very clear about this. Then, whatever you're coming up with, Is it just an idea, or is it in the research stage, or have you kind of taken it forward? Have you done some kind of a survey and research in the market? Have you taken your product to your potential customer and asked them to kind of touch it, feel it, taste it, experiment with it, play with it, and give honest feedback? And what is that amount you're going to charge them? If you say, I'm going to charge them 1,000 rupees, what are the different margins? Now, let's say you want to sell a cup of coffee. Now, coffee might cost you to make a cup of coffee, let's say 5 rupees. Are you going to sell it at 10 rupees, 20 rupees, 50 rupees? So what are those different profit margins? Gross profit, operating profit, net profit. And I believe the next presenter, it is CA Prashant sir, will be covering more about this particular aspect. Then we or I. So are you a single man or woman army? Or are you a team? Or whatever you're doing, is it a hobby? Is it something that you were doing and you were making some money because you had some traction in the market and then now you want to build a business around it? Or is it a practice? Or is it a business? Now, what's the difference between a practice and a business? Practice is person dependent. If the person stops working, revenue stops. Business is process dependent. Doctors practice. Me as a consultant, as a trainer, I practice. If I don't go and train, revenue stops. So now I'm working around a model which is, even if I step out of the business, how can still the revenue come in? So I'm converting some of the aspects of my practice into business. So the startup idea of yours, eventually, where do you want to take this? We will give them dash. Are you going to sell a product or a service, or both product and service? And why you? Why should someone buy only from you and not someone else? What is so special about your product or service? What is that edge that you're going to have? And then within dash days. So this is where your efficiency comes into picture. So there is something called as cash to cash cycle. You have got operating cycle. So how can you make sure you can make it lean and mean so that it is more efficient? Can someone unmute yourself if you have completed this statement and kindly share? Because we are all here to learn. So I'm not looking for a right or wrong answer, as Jagat mentioned. It's about you trying to practice further your pitch. So feel free to unmute yourself now. I hope that you can unmute yourself. Yes, Parth. Or maybe I would request someone, Nagaraj or whoever is the host, can you please unmute Parth?
Yeah, 1 second. I'll unmute one person.
Meanwhile, we can take one more person after Parth who can share your thoughts on this. If yes, please raise your virtual hand.
Yeah, you can, I think the students can unmute, talk, speak.
Parth.
Good afternoon, sir.
Devi, we'll come back to you. First, we'll go with Parth. Kirtan, maybe we'll unmute all of them. We'll just give permission for people who have raised their hand because.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, Parth.
Yes, if my clients give me rupees 150, I will give them a cloud retail infrastructure within 1 hour.
So you will give them what?
A cloud retail infrastructure.
Cloud retail infrastructure. So what you're selling and who, when you say client, who specifically is your client, Parth?
So my client base is B2B customers in the FMCG market, mainly small kirana shop owners who does not have enough capital available to employ a complete local in-house infrastructure for their shop management, like point of sale systems or inventory management systems.
Okay. So now let us slightly rephrase what you just said. If our client, like a kirana shop, gives us 150 rupees per month, is it? Is it a subscription model?
Yes, it's per month.
So if they give us 150 rupees per month, we will give them a platform for them to better operate their business through whatever platform that you have built within whatever time is the setup time. Yes. All right. So this is like the basic draft, and I want you to keep further refining it. Now, this is what we think people will understand. What we say and what people understand are two different things. So I want you to take this and start pitching or sharing with other people. As Steve Jobs used to always say, can you explain something even a 6-year-old child can understand? If yes, then probably you have kept it simple. Thank you for participating, Parth. Maybe one more person. Devi, I'm not sure if any one of you can unmute yourself. Anyway, I'll probably continue because I still have got another 18 minutes left. Now, whether in life or in business, all we are doing is I'm here, I want to go there. As of now, today, which is 26th of June, you're all here and you're saying in the next few weeks, you want to submit your business plan and probably get that 5 lakhs or whatever is the prize amount for this particular competition. Now, the question is how? Or you will say, I'll have to prepare this, I'll have to do this, so on and so forth. Same thing. We might say in 2024, here I am with my startup idea. By end of next financial year, at least we have to make sure we are making so much of revenue or turnover or leftover, whatever it is. The way we measure is entirely different. Now, you are asking for money. That is all you're doing as of now. Let's keep it as simple as possible. Yes, you might say, I'm competing in this competition. I want to improve my communication skills or entrepreneurial skills. I want to build network. Fine, fine, fine. End of the day, bottom line is you want money. That's it. Yes. Now, I've got a daughter who is 3.5. Still, she hasn't reached the stage where she is asking money as such, but I'm sure it's just a matter of time when she will ask money. Now, if a child is going to ask money, whether to a father or a mother, Appa, Amma, please give me 10 rupees. What do you think the parent will say? Some of you, I know you're speaking out. Oh, yeah, Parth, you can unmute yourself. What do you think the parent will ask? Why do you need? What will you do with it? And if the child says, no, I want to buy a chocolate. Okay, fine. Don't eat too much chocolate. With the advice, the parent is going to give 10 rupees. Now, if the child is going to ask for 50 rupees, what will you do with it? Oh, I'll buy a pencil box. Oh, okay. After buying it, come and show me. Now, if they're going to ask for 100 rupees, again, why? What will you do with it? I'll buy a textbook, so on and so forth. Now, if the child says, I want 500 rupees or 2000 rupees, the parent might say, I'll only come with you. Tell me what is that you want. I'll only buy for you. Even though it's a relationship between parent and a child, there is so much of trust factor, but the parent somewhere thinks, I don't think my child can really handle 2000 rupees at this stage or 20,000, whatever it is. The point I'm trying to make here is the more money you ask, more questions people will ask whoever is giving the money. Now, if you are going to submit a business plan and if you are saying, I want 5 lakhs or 5 crores, hopefully in some near future, don't you think investors, the jury members will ask a lot of questions? And there will be certain basic questions everyone is going to ask. And these are questions that you should be mentioning in your business plan. How? You should be able to entice and get the curiosity and interest of the jury members or your investors. So here are simple 10 questions for you to make sure that you address these questions while you are sharing that pitch of yours in that 5-6 minutes, whatever time Manthan has allocated to you when you actually get selected in the last 30. And it needs to be elaborated further in the business plan. The very first question is, what is the problem? What is the problem that you're trying to solve? How big is the problem? Can people relate to that problem? Now, Parth has picked up that Kirana shop. Okay, in the Kirana shop, what is the problem? Efficiency, maintaining all those records. Everything is done in hand or it is in the head of whoever is running it. So, okay, that's the problem. Now, what's your solution? Now, your solution has to be so simple that anyone should be able to go, oh, okay, fine. This is what it is. Now, how do you go about identifying the problem? This is where you need to observe, not see, observe, not hear, listen to the frustration of your target market. When people are frustrated, when we are frustrated, what we do? Somehow we express the frustration. We vent out the frustration. Only those people who observe it, they convert that problem into a challenge and then they flip it over and they start a startup. 15, 20 years back, many of us, we had a problem. I had a problem whenever I used to come from a place called Shivagangai to Madurai, Madurai to Bangalore, because I used to work as a project manager in a biomass power plant. And the moment I come to the Majestic railway station, it was around 5:45, 6 o'clock. I had to walk to the nearby auto stand to get back home. And those auto drivers, sir, 50 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್, 100 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಮೀಟರ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಇದೆ. ಏನ್ ಸರ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರ್ಸ್ ನೀವು ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಡಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ವಾ? ನಾನು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರ್ ಅಂದೆ. He has assumed. But anyway, the problem that I was facing is every time I was landing early in the morning, I had to fight with those auto drivers. Someone observed this frustration. Today we have click of a button, Ola, Uber. And the solution is simple. Even though they had a solution back then, what? I have to go to the counter, stand in the queue, and they'll say, where is your home? Oh, it is in Basveshwanagar. Okay, in this chart, it says you have to pay 85 rupees. Okay, fine, ticket, gone, go. Even though there was a solution, it was not simple. Can you keep your solution simple so that easily people can access it? Now, if Path is going to take those sophisticated software and say, oh, if you have to use my software, you need to have iOS, you need to have this kind of a system. No. He needs to really understand. Then, who is your customer? In other words, who has the money? Who badly wants this solution? Who is ready to just take this money? Give me that solution. So they are early adopters. Where can you find them? And this is the best place for you to test the market. And if you're really, really serious about your business, I would highly encourage you, I'm not exaggerating, go and meet 100 customers, potential customers, not people who are in your phone contact. No. They already know you. So there is some relationship that is built and they may not give you that critical feedback. Through them, you ask, do you know anyone who runs a kirana shop? Go talk to them, ask them these questions, and they might give you a different perspective and twist altogether. What is the value proposition? Now, what is a value proposition? It is something that makes people, for the money that I'm giving, whatever I got in return, paisa vasool. In simple words, that is what value proposition is. Now, whether you are applying for a new job or you want to change a job after a while, or you want your first big client, what do you think all of them are doing? They are asking their potential employer or their client one thing. And what is that? Give me the money. Pay me. And what do you think the client or the employer is thinking? Why you and not someone else? Why should I hire you? Why should I promote you? Why should I give business to you? Why should I buy from you? Only when the value is established, then they're ready to give that money. When someone says your product is expensive, indirectly they're saying, I'm not able to see value in this. As simple as that. So how can you create the value around whatever you're going to offer compared to your competitors? Next question. How will you really make money? So in that sentence, you need to be very clear. And Parth was very clear, give me 150 rupees every month. Great. Now, of course, he has to now work backwards. From how many people he needs to collect this 150 rupees? Is it from 1,000 people? If it is from 1,000 people, can that 1,50,000 or whatever he's going to make every month, from that, can he take care of his variable expense, his operating costs, so on and so forth? So turnover might be 1.5 lakhs. What will be his leftover? Because remember, business is not just about turnover. It is more about leftover. It is not about how much we make. It is more about how much we keep. So how do you make money? What is that you're actually selling? Be very clear about that. Now, is it based on your skill set? Do you have the capabilities? Do you have the resources? You need to be very clear, yes or no. If no, can you find someone who has got this, and that person can be more or less like your co-founder or someone in that CFO or CTO, CEO, all those fancy terms. Because if you're a one-person show, then investors will be really skeptical. Because touch wood, anything can happen to anyone. What will happen in that scenario? As Jagat was saying, you need a team. You can't be a one-man or one-woman kind of an army. So who are your team members? As someone said, I think it was Michael Jordan said, individual wins games, team wins championship. So the startup business is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So do you have all those resources and skill set and people who have got all these abilities to execute those ideas? Is it legal? Now, government, they make the rules, they change the rules, they manipulate the rules. Now, suddenly they might say, okay, if at all you're going to deal with this particular client or whatever it is, now suddenly SEBI might say, if you are going to accept this particular payment gateway or whatever it is on your platform, here are the rules and regulation, and you need to make sure you have these license, and the license will cost you 5,000 every month. Oops. Suddenly, another cost that is incurred. Now you have to comply with it. So you need to make sure it is legal. You have to comply. And the way the government is pushing things, you cannot say this is an option. Not anymore. Not anymore. If at all you're really serious of building a sustainable business. You might say, I'll compromise on this today, but whatever you compromise today might really affect you on a long run. Now, how will you scale 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 1 year from now, 3 years from now? Where do you see the startup of yours? You might say, okay, 1 year from now, if I get 1 crore of funding, then I will take that business. What if you don't get 1 crore? Can you still survive and keep moving forward? Again, when people approach an investor, there are 2 types of people broadly now we see who pitch to investors. One who are completely desperate. They're like, give me the money. If you don't give me money in the next 1 month, then I'll have to close my business, but there's a lot of potential. Another type is, you know what? We are preparing for the next 6 months, and ideally we would like to have the funding here. So these people are proactive. And yes, there are other people who are dreamers, they are entrepreneurs. They don't want to do all this hard work, but still they expect the money. So if you really want a serious investor to back your idea and be with you and partner with you and help you scale your business, ideally you should be a proactive founder, which means whatever money you need 6 months, 1 year from now, you better start preparing today itself. Now, many people have asked me, so now why should I really approach an investor now itself? Why should I go and take a business loan? Sometimes I encourage some of my, now I don't do consulting as such, so just go and ask a bank, will they be okay to give loan? But why? Because when you ask money, people will ask 1,000 questions. That is why you are the boss. To whom are you reporting? Myself. Who is holding you accountable? Myself. Are you doing everything that you wanted to do? Not really. Good. This is why if you ask money from someone, they will ask 1,000 questions and they'll make you look things from a different perspective. Otherwise, in my world, I'm the king. I know everything. How much time will it take for you to make that first sale? When will that first rupee in revenue get deposited in your bank account? Will it take 3 months? Will it take 6 months? Now, in case of Parth, he's saying that if his client will give him 150 rupees, now client will give 150 rupees if he gets into an agreement saying that he's going to deploy whatever he's going to give that online subscription platform today, tomorrow, so on and so forth. But if Parth says it is still work in progress, okay, this is going to take 3 months, 6 months. How will you survive until that time? What's your plan B? Do you have sufficient savings? And today, if at all you're in a tech related kind of a startup, software engineers are so expensive. And they don't even want to work for more than 6 months or 1 year at times, because they'll always come with, another offer letter. Here is a company that is ready to give me more. So how will you go about taking care of these kind of situations? Are you heavily dependent on 1 or 2 people to run the show? What if that person leaves? And then how will you beat the competition? Now, beating the competition is not just your direct and or your indirect competitors, but sometimes the competition is within. So some of your employees might immediately go, oh, this is a nice idea, let me replicate. How will you make sure you have got sufficient barrier to entry? How are you going to protect it? Simple 10 questions, but all these 10 questions needs to be addressed in your business plan. And if you can more or less touch upon this in your 6 to 8 minutes presentation, nothing like that. Now, let me quickly tell you what is expected, because I've been part of a Manthan business plan competition. Unfortunately, this year I have not been actively involved, but these are some of the things that we have observed in the last 4 years, which we highly recommend participants to ensure that they cover. whether it is Manthan competition or whether you go out and you are really serious about taking your venture to the next stage, this is a must. One, you need to know an approximate estimate of how much your product or service is going to cost. So what's the cost per unit, more or less? Now, if Parth is going to charge 150 rupees, and if he has 1,000 clients, more or less, what will be his margin on that? If he has got only 500 clients, then what happens to the margin? If he gets 500 clients or 5,000 clients, what will be the margin? So you need to have that estimate. Now, what will be the selling price of your product or your service? And at the same time, you need to know what will be the margins, the gross profit, operating profit, net profit, which I believe Prashant sir, who is the chartered accountant, will be covering in this particular presentation. What do you forecast? Now, don't say that there are 5 lakh Kirana shops. Out of 5 lakhs, even 10% converts, I'll have 50,000. Let's say out of that, I'll just take 1%, so 5%. No. You can't do that math. If you use those kind of words and those kind of assumption, immediately it's a red flag in an investor's mind, because they're like, this person hasn't failed enough. Now, what I mean by failure is, sometimes here in India, we have got a very negative connotation to the word failure. What I mean by failure is, what I thought, what I assume doesn't happen in reality. For me, that's failure. So as of now, you're thinking, this person, this Kirana shop will give me 150 rupees. Great. Go and ask, and you will come to know whether you want to win a 150 rupees client or whether it is 1,50,000 rupees client. For me, Parth, what I have seen is effort is the same. So do you want to go to the forest and hunt a rabbit or an elephant? It's up to you. So how can you make sure, if you want 5,000 clients, do you have the team, that army of salespeople around you? Then all the margins is something that you should have in your fingertips. If you don't know, get yourself kind of educated about basic fundamental numbers. And then if you can have a cash forecast, you will have to understand the difference between profit and cash. The sooner, the better it is. If you can forecast how much cash is going to come in, how much cash is going to go out. End of the day, keep it very simple, because if there is one thing I want you to take out of this particular session of mine, apart from that sentence that I said, are only four things, because you need to be on top of these 4 things at any given point in time. Ready? Make a note of it. Money comes in, money goes out, money expected to come in, money expected to go out, full stop, period, that's it. These are the only 4 types of financial transactions that can happen in any business, small, medium, large, it doesn't matter. Permutations and combinations of these 4 financial transactions is what we see on financial reports, which you are expected to read, understand, analyze, interpret, and then ideally make decisions. Now, having said that, because I'm running out of time, I will share a link in the chat box. If you want the pitch decks of Uber, Airbnb, Tinder, WeWork, when they were initially pitching to investors, then I will share this particular link in the chat box. You can access it. And also, oops. It's right here. Meanwhile, if there is anyone would like to ask question, feel free to do so. So here is a bit.ly link. And I'm sharing 2 more links where Guy Kawasaki, he talks about the only 10 slides you need when it comes to pitching, and the 10 things you need to know when you're pitching. So I've shared the link. Go to this link, you'll get all those necessary slides, and Guy Kawasaki has also given a talk. He has explained what needs to be on those 10 slides. And that's how initially you get someone excited about your idea, because the intention of a pitch is not to get that 5 lakh check or 5 crore check immediately. The intention is to get the jury members, investors more curious so that they keep asking more questions. Okay, it's already 2 minutes past 1. And I will stop here because I know the next presenter might be waiting. So if there's any question, I'll be happy to answer, or over to Ramya ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. It was definitely a very innovative approach of the presentation, I'm sure, and very insightful. If we have any questions, can we ask the students to please type in the chat box? No, yeah.
Or I believe you should be able to unmute yourself.
Yeah, or you can speak up, unmute it.
So please, you get the 4 important points. Okay, I believe you're asking about the 4 financial transactions. Money comes in, money goes out, money expected to come in, money expected to go out. Dud bantu, dud hoitu, dud barabeku, dud hogbeku. As simple as that. Whether it is personal finance or business finance, or you look at a country's economy finance, these are the only 4 things that are happening. Yes, Parth.
Hello, sir.
Yes, you'll have to speak a bit louder.
Getting my voice. So my question is that for you mentioned that we have to submit the first 1 year or 1 to 3 years of financial projections in our pitch, right? Let's assume that if someone is getting 10 lakh rupees worth of investment from this competition, right? And upon investing that within the first 1 to 3 years, if we are generating not enough revenue, because as I told you, my subscription cost is just 150 rupees, right? It's a very small subscription cost. So even if I have a large number of customers, it might be I might take a little more time to get up to lakhs in revenue. So is that a concern, or just the profitability is the concern?
See, again, the more authentic you are, pretty much saying, okay, best case scenario, I'm going to get this 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs. I think it's 5 lakhs, not 10 lakhs. Altogether, it is 10 lakhs. So if I'm going to get 10 lakhs or 3 lakhs, this is how the forecast is going to be. If it is just 1 lakh, is how the forecast is going to be. If I don't get it, then this is what it's going to be. And that this is my plan B, plan C. Because end of the day, this is what jury members are going to ask. Okay, if you don't get this money, can you still survive, or are you completely dependent on this particular funding or the prize money?
Survive.
Because end of the day, what's your plan B, plan C? Because things will never work out according to plan. Someone has typed in, how do we offer the equity or share of company for investors? Okay, it's a session by itself. 394. I would suggest you to ask the chartered accountant Prashant sir, who will be taking the session. Probably he might cover that particular aspect. What suggestions would you provide for healthcare related startups, mainly to enter the market? What? Now, in the first place, if you have to enter the market, you need to know where the market is. Who are the people who are in the market who are ready to give money? Who else, like you or similar to you, directly or indirectly, are offering that product or service to that particular market? So what's the value proposition? What's the edge that you're going to have compared to the competitors? So all of this needs to be taken into account. So your product is sold to hospitals, so you'll have to go and talk to the management. Now, when you say hospitals, my experience with hospitals is there'll be no one person who'll be making the decision. So you'll have people in the management who needs to take permission from someone, and there will be someone who will have the authority and someone who will be signing the check. So usually when I used to have my own analytical software, because it was a B2B business, I needed to get 3 S's. 1, yes, from a person who sees value in it and kind of pitches the product to his or her team. 2, the CEO or the founder who decides, okay, let's spend money on this and let's get it done. And 3, the CFO, who will be the signing authority. So in a hospital, there'll be similarly more or less 3 people or 3 department or 3 team people who get together and they decide. So you'll have to understand and get yes from them. Which business will be better, by selling product with tech or by providing product in rental based? Again, my short answer would be you'll have to do the research, because it's like, give me that golden idea, which business will be better. So I'm not sure about that. Okay, was there anything else?
Yeah. Thank you, Chinmay. I think, you always make it very dynamic and bringing a lot of technology, and your presentation skills are amazing. The kind of, I think students, I think this is how you have to present yourself. Thank you, Chinmay. You've always been supportive and also been a core committee member earlier. And Mr. Chinmay has also been is working with a lot of startups, and also he's dynamically, designing things for co-working spaces. And he's also part of the few VC groups too. So I think students are lucky to have you heard, and I'm sure you can reach him out directly. He's also the jury and mentor at FKCCI. Thank you, Chinmay.
All good. Thank you for having me, Kirtan. I'll just share my LinkedIn profile in case someone would like to get connected.
Yes.
And, yeah, please enjoy the rest of the session. Happy learning. And I think Prashant sir is already waiting. So thank you, everyone. Take care. I just spoke with people in FKCCI, and they said there was a power failure. They'll be logging back. So Prashant sir, maybe another minute.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Chinmay. I think I was just trying to reach out FKCCI guys.
Meanwhile, you can
thank you so much.
Prashant sir, there was a question
Yes.
which I kind of handballed to you. So someone wanted to know how can they give shares to investors for the money.
Right.
To bring
I'll take that up. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. I think I'm just getting a call from FKCCI. I'll just take that and then I'll start. Thank you.
Prashant sir, just give me 2 minutes. There's some technical glitch. We're just getting connected again.
Sure.
Moving on to the next speaker, we have Mr. Prashant Velanki, Director and Principal Consultant, ProLead Financial Solutions. Sir, we welcome you and over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. I think before we begin the session, a quick word of congratulations and best wishes for you all. Congratulations for having signed up for this event. It's a very prestigious event. So it's good on your part to have signed up, been a part of the jury earlier years. So it's a very prestigious event. You'll learn a lot during the course of this event. And very best with your, I wish you all the very best with your presentations. Now, I'll quickly share my screen. Before I do that, is the audio clear? Any issues with the audio?
No, it's perfect.
It's clear.
Perfect. Great. Thanks. Let's get going. Well, the topic is financial planning for entrepreneurs, right? And unfortunately, the time that we have is only 45 minutes. So what I've sort of included here is one is basic metrics. Now, what do we mean by basic metrics? So first and foremost, we need to understand the language. When I say language, we need to understand what is when you look at your business performance, what is the language we speak? So a quick understanding of the basic metrics is what we're going to look at first. And then we are going to look at as an entrepreneur, right? What do you do? As an entrepreneur, your objective is to create value, right? So then how do you create that value? What are the different things that will have to come together for that value creation. And then we're also going to look at the common pitfalls or the common mistakes that a lot of young entrepreneurs make when they're starting up the business or in the initial stages of their business journey. What are the common pitfalls that are there? Now, at each stage, I think I'll pause. I'll ask you guys to sort of throw back questions at me, and I'll prefer this to be an interactive session. So, yes, are we all set? Any questions while we get going? So the question on can we issue equity shares or what is the process to issue equity shares? We'll park it for the end. Once I cover the content, maybe I'll take that up. Now, as far as basic metrics are concerned, so I've categorized this into three essential buckets. The first one is cash and fund position. As I was logging in, I was hearing Chinmay sir talk about Dud Bantu, Dud Hoito, right? How do you track how much is coming in, how much is going out? It's essentially that, right? So cash and fund position. We'll look at that. Then the next thing that we're also looking at is profitability or unit economics, right? And then we'll also look at financial position. So these are the three simple buckets that as an entrepreneur, you need to track, you need to know, you need to watch out, right? So first, let's look at cash or fund position. What do you mean by cash or fund position? Essentially, in simple words, how much cash are you generating from your business? It is cash in, right? Now, how much cash are you burning in your business? That is cash out. Now, just to make things more clearer, let me clarify this. When I say cash, I'm not only talking about cash, right? Anything that comes into your bank account is also cash, right? So from an accounting sense, understand when I say cash, it is cash and bank, right? So we're just widening the scope here. So when you look at cash or fund position, the key metrics or the key parameters that you'll all need to track as young entrepreneurs are: one, what is the cash that I'm generating in my business? That is cash in. What is the cash that I'm burning in my business? That is cash out. So now don't confuse this with cash burn. There's also a metric that we track called as cash burn. So at this stage, I want you guys to become familiar with these concepts, with these metrics, so that in the subsequent slides, I'll use these fairly more, right? So at this stage, understand what is cash in, cash out. Now, let's move on to burn. What do you mean by burn? It is possible, and I think in this day and age, looking at a lot of startup business models, most of who follow the hockey stick curve for profitability or the path to profitability. Okay, I'll give you a context of what is this hockey stick path to profitability is. All of you know how a hockey stick looks like, right? So essentially, if you start at a point here, it goes down first, and then it curves upward, and the upward curve is pretty steep, right? So that's a hockey stick curve. Now, most businesses of late, in fact, the new age businesses, startups, etc., they follow a hockey stick path to profitability. Now, what do you mean by hockey stick path? Initial few days of your business, you will have a lot of losses, right? You will have losses. But now these losses, essentially what you're doing is you're essentially trying to change consumer behavior. You're essentially trying to build up your capacity. So you're investing into something, right? So, and they're also contributing to your operating losses. So you'll have losses till a particular point. But what happens after that particular point is there's a steep upward curve that shoots in like a hockey stick, and then that's your path to profitability, right? So during that phase where you're essentially burning money, you also need to measure something called as burn rate. We call it the burn rate. In simple words, how much money are you burning? Now we measure this. It could be on a weekly basis. It could be on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, half-yearly basis. In simple words, let's say your business idea is first 2-3 years, I'll have losses. After that, I'll have profits. Now, in the first 2-3 years, what's the rate at which you're burning money? That's called burn rate, right? Now, the next one is called runway. We also call it as time to OOC. Now, runway is nothing but, in simple words, you've determined that your burn rate is, let's take an example. In your business, you're essentially spending about, in a month, you're spending about 10 lakh, but your collections from your customers are only, let's say, 6 lakhs. So I'll repeat it again. You're spending about 10 lakhs a month in cash outflows. You're receiving about 4 lakhs a month from your customers. So what do we have? We have a burn of 4 lakhs per month, right? So burn of 4 lakhs per month, let's say you have at a given particular point in time, let's say you have 20 lakhs in your bank account, in your business bank account. What is the runway that you have? Essentially 20 lakhs is what I have. I'm burning 4 lakhs every month. So I have a clear runway of 5 months. So that means to say, I will go out of cash. OOC is nothing but out of cash. right? So my time to OOC is 5-month horizon, right? So which means to say, as an entrepreneur, it is very important for you to track this. Now, a lot of times you guys go for, let's say, fundraise. Now, when you go for a fundraise, there's an ask. That is essentially how much money are you raising from that particular route. Now, you'll also have a particular path with respect to how you're going to expend or spend that money and how long that funds will last. Accordingly, it is important. There are two things, right? Either you ensure there's a path to profitability and you're becoming cash flow positive by the time you exhaust these funds, or you get prepared for another round of funding. So it is extremely critical to measure what is your runway or what is your time to go out of cash, right? Now, growth rate is, I think, fairly simple in terms of what is your growth in terms of cash collections. It could be any other aspect, any metric where you're looking at growth rate. So I'll come to default alive or default dead at the end. But first, I think as far as cash flow is concerned, like I think Chinmay sir has mentioned at the towards the end of the session, just track how much cash is going out, how much cash is coming in. There I'll add another layer. Cash going out, cash coming in, measure your burn. Right? When you measure your burn, compare it with how much money is there in your bank account, and you'll also get to know what is your runway or how much time do you have to go out of cash, right? So that is absolutely critical. Now, why is this so critical? Because like I said, you need a plan. Now, what is the for the planning? One, do I become profitable? Does it look like I'll become profitable before the end of this round, or do I have to raise another round of funding? Now, a lot of times we work with startups where the runway is getting narrower and narrower, right? So you started off with 2 years runway. Now you're looking at 3-month runway. Now, when you're looking at 3-month runway and go to an investor, do you think you're in a position to negotiate with that investor? You're looking at a 1-month runway and you're going to an investor. You think you're in a position to negotiate with that investor because tables turn. So this is absolutely critical as a young entrepreneur for you to measure what is your runway, and accordingly you start planning your fundraise, right? A lot of businesses we have seen, they could have got much higher valuations if only they had planned the fundraise properly. But because they don't track this runway carefully, they push it till the last, till the end, and then they start seeking funds, and that's when they're so on a negotiation table, they're at the receiving end because they're desperate, they're going out of cash very soon, so they'll have to take whatever offer comes their way, right? So it's absolutely important from that perspective. Now let's look at profitability or unit economics. Now, some of you could be commerce students, but otherwise, I think I'll start with a clean slate where when I say profit, in simple words, it is about how much are you earning, how much are you spending. Difference between that is profit. Now, there are different aspects there in terms of net profit, gross profit, and all of that, that I'll come back later. First is this. Now, from, again, UH businesses perspective, it is again another metric that is absolutely critical called CAC, right? Now, what do you mean by CAC? It is customer acquisition cost. Now, a lot of times you guys are in businesses where, especially in the initial stages, you're trying to introduce a very new product into the market, or you're trying to introduce a service which is done very differently. So you will have to end up spending on customer acquisition. It is not like you open or you start a business, you have ready-made customers, right? So the amount that you spend on customer acquisition is to be tracked carefully, right? So in fact, if you look at the marketing spends of all of these startups that we are seeing around us, they're massive, right? So there's this joke that, so through these startups, money is flowing in from VCs, and that money is again flowing into Metas of the world and Googles of the world. Why? Because it's all massive advertising and marketing budgets that they have, huge spend on digital marketing, etc. Now, when you're spending that, it is also very critical for you to understand, now, what is it that I'm spending to acquire each customer? So that money to acquire each customer is called customer acquisition cost, or CAC. Now, why is that relevant? In simple words, let's take an example of a Swiggy or a Zomato. Now, typically, hypothetically, let's say they are spending about 4,000 rupees to acquire a customer. I'm just giving you random numbers, right? So let's say they're spending about 4,000 rupees to acquire a customer. Now, what is the money that they'll get from a customer at an order level? Let's say for the delivery, hypothetically, assuming that they don't have these subscription models and all of that. To make this very simple, let's say they're getting 40 rupees for delivery from each customer, right? Now, if they're getting 40 rupees for each delivery, you've already spent 4,000 to acquire this customer. Think of it from a profitability perspective, right? You've spent 4,000 rupees. You're getting only 40 rupees per delivery. Now you will need to deliver 100 orders for this guy, even to recover your customer acquisition cost. Unfortunately, a lot of times we don't do this math. This is extremely critical for us to understand. Yes, my marketing spend is there, but is that commensurate with, or is that aligned with what I can receive from my customers on a per unit or a per order basis in future? This is very relevant because I think the nature of businesses is changing, right? We are in an era where we are talking about, let's say, you're looking at urban logistics. The most valuable urban logistics companies in the world, it could be Uber, or it could be Ride, or it could be Gojek. They don't own any cabs, right? If you look at some of the most profitable hospitality industry companies, Airbnb and all of that, now they don't own properties, right? If you're looking at the likes of Amazon, which are again into e-commerce, now they don't hold any inventory. So the rules of the game are changing. Now, a lot of these companies are spending on what? Earlier, Amazon or the equivalent of an Amazon, if you're a retail or a trading company, you would spend on increasing your, capacity, your inventory levels, etc., right? If you are an Uber or an Ola, right, the equivalent of that in a traditional sense, your focus would be on increasing your fleet, right? Hospitality, the focus would be on adding the number of rooms or properties, right? But now the focus is different, right? Because the business models have changed. These are all platform-based businesses. Now, in this case, a lot of money is being spent on acquiring customers, changing their behavioral patterns, right? So when you spend that money, it is important for you to track customer acquisition cost and how many months or years or orders or units do I need to deliver to this particular customer to even recover what I've spent on acquiring this customer. Now you might wonder, so how do I arrive at CAC? Initially, yes, it's a simple math in terms of how much is your marketing expenditure and how much is the number of increase in the number of customers, right? How many new customers have you acquired? That is your customer acquisition cost. LTV is nothing but from a revenue standpoint or unit economic standpoint, it is lifetime value. You acquired a particular customer. Now, from that particular customer, how much am I going to get in terms of my revenues over the years, right? So that's called the lifetime value of a particular customer. Now, it is again very important for us to assess this to do a simple math saying, I need to spend about 4K to acquire this customer. And lifetime value of a particular customer itself is, let's say, 20 orders. And in 20 orders, let's say I can make only 200 rupees per order. And what am I making? 4,000 rupees at a gross level. So then my customer acquisition cost is 4,000. This customer is only going to give me 4,000 rupees in the lifetime. Am I doing good business? No. I need to figure out either ways to reduce customer acquisition cost or to increase the lifetime value of the customer. So that's on the profitability or unit economics front. Then again on the margin. Now, like I said, profit is nothing but what is it that you're earning minus what is it that you're spending. There are two stages at which we analyze this profitability. One is at a gross margin level and one is at a net margin level. So at a gross margin level, you take out all the direct expenditure that is directly attributable expenditure. And then you say, this is what I've earned. So in simple words, let's say I'm into manufacturing pens. So this is what it costs me to manufacture a particular pen. Let's say it costs me to it takes me about 200 rupees to manufacture this pen. I'm selling this for 500 rupees. So then the gross margin is 300. Now the cost to manufacture is the direct cost. Now there could be other expenses that will come in, right? You need to sell this through a particular channel, right? So you need to have administrative costs to sell this. You need to have marketing spend to sell this, right? You need to set up retail stores to sell this. All of that is indirect expenses, right? So a gross margin is where you're looking at what is it that I'm making from sales minus what are the direct expenditure. Now, from that gross margin, you reduce your other expenditure, indirect expenses, then you have something called as net margin. So that's on profitability or unit economics. So like I said, there are three buckets that we've looked at, right? We're looking at. One is funds, that is cash. Second is, am I earning enough? That is profitability. The next one is also is with respect to financial position. That is, where do I stand as of today, right? Right. So at any particular point in time, as a business, what is it that I have and what is it that I owe? Right. Now, what is it that I have is typically called as assets. These belong to me. These are resources that I control. Right. These are called assets. That is what I have. Now, what I owe, these are my obligations. Now, these are typically called as liabilities. So at any given point in time, I have my assets and I also have my liabilities, right? I understand that some of you are not from an accounting or commerce background, so I'm trying to keep it very simple. So like I said, financial position is at any given point in time, where do I stand? As a business, what do I have and what do I owe? Owe is an obligation towards others, right? So that is called liabilities. What I have is called assets. I hope I'm clear there right now. Within that, there are different types of assets and liabilities, right? So one common distinction that all of you as entrepreneurs must understand is with respect to the liquidity of these assets or current, non-current nature of these assets and liabilities. What do I mean by that? There are some assets that you will have in a business which will give you benefit immediately or which can be converted into cash immediately. On the other hand, there are some assets which it may not be possible for them to be converted into cash immediately, or your intention itself is not to convert them to cash immediately. Now, let me give you an example. So let's say you're running a business, you've set up a small scale manufacturing unit, could be manufacturing of any particular product, but you've set up a small scale manufacturing unit. Now, the factory that you have, is it something that you own or is it something that you're obligated to someone else? It is something that you own. So that is your asset. So the factory that you have is your asset. But are you holding that factory to sell that factory and make money? The answer is no. You're holding that factory so that you can use that factory in the long term. You already spent money on that factory. It is something that you control. So that's an asset for you, right? And now you're holding that so that you can use that factory in the long term and try to use it in the business and to make money out of it, but not to sell that factory. So assets of this nature are called non-current assets. They're not current, they're not immediate, they are long-term assets, right? On the other hand, let's say you have that factory and you manufactured some goods in that factory and you sold those goods. Now you sold it to a company and that particular company says, my business practice is whatever purchases I make, I settle off after, let's say, 30 days. So you send them the goods today, you raise an invoice or a bill saying, sir, for whatever goods I've supplied to you, you have to pay me 10 lakh rupees. But that company's standard practice is what? Whatever they've purchased, they'll only pay after 30 days. In this 30 days, I have a claim on that company. I have to receive money from that company, right? So that company is supposed to pay me money. So they are called trade receivables or debtors. Let's not worry about the nomenclature, but just understand the concept here. Now, I'm supposed to receive money from them. Now, that particular asset where I'm saying I have to receive so much from this party, now that can be converted into money immediately, A, and B, your intention is to receive cash as soon as possible. So that is called a current asset, right? So in other words, there are short-term assets, there are long-term assets, or current assets, non-current assets, right? You need to be very clear with this distinction because I'm then going to introduce another aspect here. Once we're all clear with current and non-current classifications, it's in simple words, I'm saying non-current is anything that you hold for long term. Your intention is not to sell immediately, right? Current is anything that will be converted into cash in the near future. So for this discussion, let's call it 1 year. So any asset which will be converted or will be sold and cash will be realized in 1 year is called a current assets. Now, you're clear with this current, non-current distinction, then I'll introduce something called as CapEx, capital expenditure. So I'll take a quick pause here. So let me just stop sharing here and I'm open for questions on current and non-current. Maybe I'll rather encourage you guys. Like I said, I'll want this to be a very interactive sessions. So let's have a quick discussion in terms of the examples of assets that you guys can think of and what are the current assets that you can think of, what are the non-current assets that you can think of. I know that there could be some of you from commerce accounting background. Happy to please feel free to share your comments as well. So yes, please. Any questions or examples of current versus non-current? Understanding this is absolutely critical before we move to financial planning. So let's start with the discussion on non-current assets maybe. I want examples of non-current examples. You can also start with any industry of your choice and we can discuss from that specific industry. Current assets, cash in hand, debtors, yes, Narayana, that's correct. Non-current assets are building, furniture, yes, absolutely. So let me give you some examples and then maybe you guys can see if it is current or non-current. Let's say I am building an app, right? And let's say this app is in e-commerce. Now, the amount that I've spent on app development, current or non-current. So you can type it in the chat box. Like I said, please feel free. I think there's no, I think we can discuss, right, wrong, we can discuss. So any amount spent on development of app or software for an e-commerce company, is that current or non-current? Non-current, some current. Okay, let's go on. NCA, okay. Right, so only 4. Right, so current account, bills payable, cash at bank, non-current assets, yes, fine. Okay, great. I think, yeah, so the non-current assets bit is correct. The reason why we classify it as non-current assets is you're spending money on this app or software development so that you can benefit from it in the long term, right? And typically from an accounting perspective, this is called an intangible asset, right? So you have assets, you have tangible, intangible assets. This is called an intangible asset. So all your software that you're developing, software that you're procuring from someone else, you can use it in the long term. These are all called intangible assets, right? Great. Now, yeah, let's take other examples. Let's say initial days of your business, you've hired a business development team. You're paying salaries to that business development team. Is that an asset or expense? So do you take it as expense and then say, this is how I determine my profitability? Or do you say from this long-term benefit is there? Okay, so expenses is correct. The reason some of you might wonder, because I see this working with founders, they're saying that we're spending so much on marketing. Marketing also will give me a long-term benefit. I'm spending on business development. Now, business development also will give me a long-term benefit. You just told me all long-term benefits are assets. The answer is it is an expense. The reason is for something to be called an asset, you should be able to control it. Like in our example, previous example of an intangible asset, you are very clear that this is an intangible asset that I own. This is a software that I have licensed towards or that I own. This is an application that I built. I have an IP against it, right? And there's a time period within which I need to use it, right? For things like marketing expenses, business development expenses, right? At max, you can treat them before, if it is before your operations, you can treat them as pre-operating expenses and for the time being show it as asset, but it has to at some point come back into your P&L account, right? So these are expenses. So the distinction between expense and asset is very critical because I want to introduce one concept here called capital expenditure. Now, again, initial days of business, revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. We call it CapEx in simple words. Now, whatever is going into your assets, that's why I've sort of taken some time to explain what assets are, because all the money that is spent on acquiring assets or buying assets essentially is called CapEx, that is capital expenditure. Now we need to track this capital expenditure separately and other expenses separately. For now, just understand other expenses are, don't worry about it. It's called revenue expenditure, but what is it? We'll come back later. So anything that I spend on CapEx, always remember I am doing that so that I'll get benefits in future, in the long term, right? So if you were to ask me, I'm reviewing a particular business plan, where is a lot of your cash going in? If it is going into CapEx, I'm rather happy because that investment or that money spent on capex at some point will start yielding results. On the other hand, you do a fundraise and you say that initial whatever money I'm raising is all going into revenue expenditure, I'll be worried. Because then my question to you would be, you're spending so much, but what is the long-term benefit that I'm getting from this, right? So you need to be very clear on this capital expenditure versus revenue expenditure or other expenditure distinction. So when you prepare your projections also, I think it is very critical for you to split these expenses. If you've not had a session on this, I'm sure you'll have, or probably you might have already had a session on this. When you make your projections, be very clear on how much money are you spending on capex, that is capital expenditure. How much money are you spending on revenue expenditure? Revenue expenditure is something that is more recurring in nature. When I say recurring, let's say the salaries that you pay out, the rent that you pay out, the utilities that you pay out, all of these are examples of revenue expenditure. So that distinction is absolutely critical between capex and revenue expenditure. Yeah. So let's go back to our metrics and nomenclature. Yes. So we're looking at now that we've understood what is capital expenditure, what is current, non-current. So same thing applies from your obligations or liabilities perspective. There are some liabilities for which you have time before you start paying them, or you have to pay them over a period of a longer period of time. And on the other hand, there are also liabilities which you have to pay immediately. Now, through this, we ascertain something called as a liquidity position of a business. Now, what do you mean by a liquidity position of business? It is possible that you have great amounts of fixed assets or long-term non-current assets sitting with you. But I'll give you an example. So I want you to take down these numbers. I'll put them in the chat box. So let's say I have NCA. NCA is non-current assets. Understand it as long-term assets. I have NCA of 80, right? I have current assets of 20. This is how my assets are stacking up, right? So again, I'll repeat, NCA of 80, current assets of 20. Now, this is what I own on a particular day. Now, let's say what I owe. Like I said, every business owes something, owns something, right? Now, what I owe is, so I have current liabilities of 80 and non-current liabilities of 20, okay? So can someone tell me what is the problem with this? So this is my simple position as on today. NCA is non-current assets, CA is current assets, CL is current liability, NCL is non-current liabilities. What do you think is wrong with this business? You can type it out, you can unmute and speak. There's something that's wrong. Can someone tell me what that is? Maybe money loss at current liabilities. Good. Okay. What else? Current payables is more than receivables. Good. Okay. So if you are reviewing this business, if you're reviewing this business and the founder or the entrepreneur says uncontrolled inventory could be the reason. So that could be one of this thing. Less generation basically. Okay, fine, fair enough. Let me just chalk this out. In simple words, you have a current liabilities of 80. What does that mean? There are people sitting on your neck saying, boss, you have to pay me money immediately. Like I said, anything current is within 1 year, right? So you owe 80 immediately, right? And look at your asset side. Asset side, you have 100. But where is that 100 sitting? Where is it parked? About 80 of that is sitting in assets that you can't sell immediately. Those are all long-term assets, right? They will give you a benefit in the long term, right? But can I use those assets to pay this 80? No, right? And how much do I have to pay this 80? To pay this 80, I only have 20 from my current assets. So this analysis is called liquidity position. Solvency is long-term liquidity, but essentially as an entrepreneur, yes, less liquidity. So I owe 80, but I only have 20. Now, it doesn't matter how insolvency happens. Insolvency is a situation where a business is not in a position to pay off debt. There is no further distinction with respect to am I in a position where I'm defaulting on long-term debt or am I defaulting on short-term debt? Doesn't matter. If you're in a position to not be able to pay your liabilities or obligation, you are on the path to insolvency. As simple as that. So any business, while they're evaluating their financial position, must also evaluate their liquidity or solvency position. And for that, they need to very clearly understand what are my current assets, what are my current liabilities, do I have enough funds to take care of my immediate obligations, which are nothing but current liabilities, right? Long-term debt is there, but for long-term debt, I have time to pay that long-term debt, right? So that assessment is absolutely critical in financial position, right? The other one in financial position is what we call as working capital. Now, working capital is nothing but the money that has gone into the operating cycle of the company. Now, what do you mean by an operating cycle? Operating cycle, in other words, is how much time does it take for me? Let's say I'm in a simple business where I buy raw materials, manufacture finished goods, and sell those finished goods. So, how much time do I take, or does it take for me to spend money on purchasing raw materials, converting those raw materials into finished goods, selling those finished goods, and receiving money from my debtors? This entire cycle from the time that I pay money to receive money from my debtors or from my customers, this entire journey is called operating cycle. So the money that I need to fund this operating cycle is called working capital. So there are some businesses, let me give you examples. There are some businesses where your collections are immediate and you can pay later. Hypothetically speaking, let's say you're running a cafe or you're planning to start a cafe or anything in food and beverage industry. So typically what happens is customers come in, customers pay immediately, assuming that you're doing a lot of retail customers where you have a lot of footfalls and not dealing with corporates for food courts, etc. But generally, by and large, what happens is you open up your cafe, people will come in, will pay up, and then you serve them, right? So you collect cash immediately. But what about your payments? So your payments, you always get some time to pay. So out of all your purchases, there could be some payments where you'll have to do immediately, but there could also be there will be some purchases where you'll say you'll have an arrangement with your supplier saying, boss, I'll buy this month, I'll pay it at the end of the month. So which means to say you're generating cash, but you're paying after a month. That is one example. There could also be industries where it's quite the opposite, where you pay up first, but your customers will take time to pay you. Right? So it is very important for you to understand what is the industry that you're operating in, the business that you're planning to set up, what industry does it operate in, and what is the working capital cycle or the operating cycle of that particular business. So that is, so that's on the financial position. If you have any other questions, you can drop it in the chat box. Before we go on to value octagon, right? Now, what do I mean by value octagon? Value octagon is nothing but, like I said, as an entrepreneur, your primary objective is to create value for all stakeholders, right? So that includes profit to your shareholders and investors, your employees, your customers, to all stakeholders, you need to be able to create value. That is your primary objective as an entrepreneur, right? And like I said, I congratulate all of you for taking part in this because you're already on that path to create value. Now it is about how you tread that path, how careful you're on that path, right? Now that path to value creation, you need to understand certain elements to it. Obviously, like I said, 45 minutes or even like a couple of hours is too less for us to understand this because each of these that you see on the screen will take some time to understand, but I'll give you a quick overview of what are the things that you need to deal with when you're on your own, starting a business, doing business, right? First and foremost, you need to be clear with your strategy and business model. Now, that is something that should be a part of your pitch as well. For all of you who are starting something, I would encourage you all to prepare something called as business model canvas. Has there been any session on business model canvas? The different elements of business model canvas? Yes, great. So if you've already learned what a business model canvas is, so within that, there are layers or components where you talk about where you're getting your money from, how you're spending that money, the cost structures, the revenues, right? You need to be absolutely clear with that. And so those of you who have not yet prepared that business model canvas for your own idea, please do that because in the past, I've seen so many people, after preparing that business model canvas, they get such a completely different perspective about their own business. Now, when it's an idea, you're not thinking of certain layers. But when you put it on paper, something like a business model canvas where it captures everything, right? So then you are essentially forced to think of how am I ensuring my services or value is reaching to customers, right? What are the channels with which I'm dealing with them, right? For this, through these channels, what is the revenue that I'm getting? What is my revenue model? On the cost side, who are my key partners? What is it that I own, my key resources? right? What is it that I control? And for these resources, partners, whatever I control, what is the key cost involved, right? All of this becomes much more clearer once you prepare a business model canvas. Yes, is there a question? Shubha Moy. Yes, please. If there's a question, we can go on. Or you can type it out in the chat box as well. Okay, so continuing with it, yes. So you need to be absolutely be clear on the business model. Once you've done that, then there is something called as capital allocation. Now, what is capital allocation? Capital allocation is nothing but I have raised my funds, but how do I spend that? And this is the reason why we have spent some time earlier on understanding what do we mean by capital expenditure? What are your long-term assets or non-current assets? We've spent some time understanding that, right? So capital allocation now is, as an entrepreneur, I need to decide now how much am I channelizing into capital expenditure, that is into creating long-term assets, and how much is going into the short-term or the current assets, right? That's called capital allocation. Now, within that again, within current, non-current, as an entrepreneur, again, you need to think of what are the projects that you'll fund in? What is the way in which I do it? For example, maybe one of your idea is to build an application or a software services company, doesn't matter. But let's say your idea is to build an application or a platform. Then the question is, yes, you need to spend money on CapEx. That's what your business revolves around. But then how do I spend that money? Do I build that application or do I build that software in-house? Do I hire people and build that in-house? Or do I ask another company to build that for me and I'll just pay them? That's again a capital allocation decision, right? So it is absolutely important for you to understand how I'm spending my money and at each stage. So this is where in the next level, maybe at this stage, you can just understand what capital allocation is. But in the next stage, it is very important for you to understand the different types of analysis that is required for capital allocation decision. This is also called as capital budgeting decisions, where you look at this is what I'm spending now. This is what I'll get in the next 10 years. So is this project worthwhile? Can I go ahead with this project? So we use certain techniques called NPV, net present value, IRR, internal rate of return, etc. So those techniques are what you need to use. Again, just know what this is. So if someone comes to you and tells you, so the NPV of this particular project is so much, or the IRR of this is X versus a Y IRR for another project, we're not expecting you to calculate IRR. We are not expecting you to determine NPV. No. But if someone comes to you telling this is the NPV and this is the IRR, you should be able to make decision. That is what you're required to do as an entrepreneur, right? So all of that is capital allocation. So the next one is called strategic financing decisions. Now, what are strategic financing decisions? In simple words, how do I raise my funds, right? So every business starts off with a clear trajectory saying initially I'll do angel funding, seed funding, then I'll go to, after a particular stage, I'll probably have VCs showing interest in my business. Then you look at PE, then you'll have pre-IPO or a mezzanine financing, and then you have IPO, or typically for listed companies, they go for IPO, right? So that's the path. So at each stage, you'll also need to take decision with respect to how much I raise through equity, how much do I raise through debt, right? If it is debt, what is the sort of debt that I need to take? Secured loan, unsecured loan, from banks, from NBFCs, right? All of this is part of strategic financial decisions. Like one of you said, how do we raise equity? Now, strategic financial decision is also important because it is very tricky here, right? When you raise more equity, what happens? You don't have to worry about paying interest. So there's no commitment with respect to debt servicing. All of you understand debt servicing? Debt servicing is nothing but when I take a loan, I'll need to pay interest on that loan, right? Or I'll need to pay an installment for that loan repayment, right? So that's called debt servicing. So with debt, you always have a servicing obligation, right? But a lot of businesses initially may not have enough cash flows from operations to be able to do servicing. If you have enough cash flows, please go for debt, right? So that you don't, what happens when you raise equity? When you raise equity, you're essentially diluting your ownership. Your control is diluted. So the decision is, do I raise more equity where my control is diluted, or do I raise more debt where I still own the company 100%, but I still have to make payments in terms of interest, etc. So I think because in the paucity of time, let's look at capital allocation, strategic decisions. other aspects, right, as and when your business grows, are become extremely critical. And then for value creation, like I said, all of these, we call them as levers, right? So what you have on screen, these are called the levers of this octagon. All of these 8 levers will have to come together for you to be able to create value through your business, right? So initial days focus on your strategy, capital allocation, strategic financing decisions, and to an extent in terms of cost management, right? And as and when your business progresses, you will have governance coming in, risk management coming in, and that's how value gets created. So I'll quickly conclude with the common pitfalls that entrepreneurs typically face in their initial days. The first and foremost one is not knowing their numbers, right? So they're doing their business, they're so held up in sort of on the operations side, on the business side of things, that they're not tracking their numbers, right? Just track in terms of what your cash position is, track in terms of what your financial position is. That is good enough. You don't have to make it very complex, but please keep an eye on how you're spending your numbers, right? The next one is not looking at numbers frequently. You're tracking your numbers, but you're not looking at it frequently, right? So that's the next mistake. Not looking at expenses realistically. And like I said, as part of jury in the earlier years, we've seen very ambitious projections, which are far from reality in terms of you're very ambitious with respect to revenue. But when it comes to expenses, a lot of you are very conservative. You're saying I can earn, let's say, 5 lakh rupees in the first month.
Yeah,
but to earn that 5 lakh rupees,
all will governments will come. If you bring means
so to earn that 5 lakh rupees, what is it that I need to spend? There you're being very optimistic, saying with 3 lakh rupees only I can earn 5 lakh. So be very careful when you look at expenses. Look at them very realistically. This is also a problem once you get going. A lot of people chase growth and start scaling too quickly. But prudent business principle is sustain yourself at a small scale, figure out how to do business at a small scale, and then scale up rapidly. There are some business models, there are some industries where you need scale to sustain. But understand that very clearly. When do you need to scale, right? So the motto is, in fact, last few years, a lot of startups, the problem is they throw money at every problem, right? So that is, don't spend as much as possible, as fast as possible. Be very clear with how you spend, right? Keep your business and personal finances separate, right? Both are two separate things. We've seen enough number of problems that startup founders have faced from VCs at a later stage. Don't outsource responsibility. Responsibility is yours. Outsource tasks, outsource specific functions, but responsibility must be yours. Timing of fundraise, we've already discussed when we're discussing about out of cash, runway, etc. So time your fundraise carefully, empower professionals. So whoever you hire, delegate authority carefully, empower them. And then understand very clearly your sales are vanity. That's for you to show. Your profits are sanity. But the only reality that you see is look at your bank balance, how much cash is there with you. That is the only reality that you see. Yeah. So that's from my side. Please feel free to ask any questions. I think we're running out of time. Meanwhile, there was one question which was asked to Mr. Chinmay at the end in terms of equity shares. What was that? Now, how do we offer equity or the shares of company for investors? So can you please be more specific on the question? How do you offer, meaning the procedural aspect, the valuation aspect? What are you looking at? Okay, so please address how we divide company equity among founders, friends together in plan, and among investors. Fair enough, yeah. Okay, yes. Sure. So can you please speak so that it brings more clarity, and that will probably help the larger audience as well. One, I've understood clearly that you're looking at how do we split the equity among your team, the founding team and the investors. Is there anything else to the question, or is just this? Okay, so while you're typing out your reply, I think I'll start. Essentially, when you're looking at allocating equity or raising equity, the most important aspect is valuation, right? Now, how do you value your particular business? Like I said, with valuation, things are getting more tricky because business models are changing. Earlier, you would raise funds, you would invest into tangible assets that you could control. Valuing those were easier. Now, whatever funds you're raising, you're investing into intangible assets, something that's not easy to value, right? Like I told you, Uber and Ola do not own cabs. Your Airbnbs of the world do not own properties, right? Your e-commerce companies do not hold inventory. So valuation becomes tricky. So first and foremost, understand how valuation works. So for your particular business, one of the most universally accepted valuation is what we call as DCF basis, that is discounted cash flow basis, where we look at what are your immediate future cash flows, and based on that, we extrapolate or project your cash flows for the future. And then we discount those cash flows to the present day. Then we arrive at a value. Now that valuation is extremely critical for any of your fundraise discussions, right? So once you get your value, then you speak with your investor and you say, let's say you're essentially looking at a post-money valuation of 100 crores, and then they're looking at 20 crores investment. Then you're looking at 20% is the equity that you're allocating to investor. So valuation becomes the key as far as investor is concerned. Now, the more difficult aspect is among the team, right? Among the team, how do we agree on valuation? That is very simple. When I say very simple, there's no rule for it. I think all the founders will need to sit together, understand what each of them are bringing to the table, and then arrive at this, right? For investors, the answer is valuation. But for the team, you'll all have to be very clear about what each one of you are bringing to the table, because it is possible that you're not bringing in terms of monetary value, right? You're not bringing in money onto the table. You're bringing in different skills onto the table. You're bringing in different network or contacts onto the table, right? So sit together, and then based on the relative importance of each of what each of you are bringing, that's how valuation, or that's how the equity is distributed among the founders. Does that answer that question? So any other questions, please? Okay, I think we're right on top of the hour as well. So thank you so much, and all the very best for your competition. Please do well. And I thank the FKCCI team again for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prashant sir. I think it was a very detailed presentation. I'm sure the students have a lot of takeaways. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prashant.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, dear students. I think, as you know, today has been a non-stop. There's a lot of information that you have gained from the first speaker, Mr. Vishwanath Iyer, Vishwanath BR, to Mr. Jagat Iyer, Chinmay Anand, and Mr. C.A. Prashant. So all of them have given you a detailed, approach on how you have to approach your business plan, how do you have your pitch deck, and also what are the startup success factor. So you can go through. Tomorrow, again, we're going to meet with some more dynamic speakers who will enlighten you with some great perspectives. So please do join us tomorrow again at 10:30, and it will be a wonderful experience. And then going ahead, we will have the next round of the filtration process, where we will have the team's numbers will reduce to we will announce it tomorrow. And then again, there will be juries who will be, and then you will be given 1 week time to resubmit your business plans, and you can improvise and resubmit your business plans. And then there will be eliminations. So then you will have juries who will be allotted. So please do join us tomorrow morning again. So wonderful day to all of you all. Please think through. If you make notes, please go through again and start working on your business plans. Thank you.
Thank you, students. We'll meet you tomorrow. Okay.